Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. This is the regular season finale for the 2025 season, coming to you tonight from Gateway. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Ewan O'Leary. Howie Burrows is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Now, after last week's race at Portland, the race that was won at the end of it all by the usual FLCC top runner of Andrew Dyson, we enter this regular season finale at a bit of a loss as to what we may expect from this rather bizarre racetrack, so to speak. There's nothing really like Gateway in the world. It is flat as a pancake, not a lot of banking. It's also funky in terms of the layout as well. You can just see in the turns, and you can see in the length as well at 1.25 mile. There's nothing really like Worldwide Technology Raceway in the world. Funny kind of rhyming there, but I think this is going to be unique as the other word of the night.
Yeah, very unique compared to the other racetracks that we've got this season. Admittedly, in an Xfinity Championship, you do get some slightly different circuits here and there around the world, around America. But yeah, Worldwide Technology Raceways, as far as the ovals go anyway, very, very different. Even the length, to be honest, doesn't really make much sense, does it? 1.25 miles around this circuit, not many of those. And as you say, the real contention point is the two ends of the racetrack, which are just slightly different. 11 degrees of banking round 1 and 2, which is a little bit more open coming off of 2 and a bit tighter on the entrance to 1, and then it reverses itself as 9 degrees of banking for 3 and 4. We often talk about different ends of the racetrack, but here it is absolutely the case where you've got something different to contend with both times.
Yeah, totally different thing. It feels like Darlington in an odd sense. It's like Darlington as if Darlington kind of just got squished by a hydraulic press in a very odd way. It's an odd comparison to be sure, but I feel like there's a lot of truth said in just in talking about this racetrack here. But as I said in my open, Andrew Dyson, the driver of the number 41 car, the usual top running racer in the FLCC, actually decided to shake the dust off before that FLCC Southern 500 this past Saturday here at Maconi Entertainment, leading pretty much from lights to flag in the first 2/3 of that race. Then had a self-imposed drive-through penalty and came back from the brink of disaster to go on to win that race last time out at Portland just 1 week ago. But this is the main talking point. This is the playoff standings heading off into this round of the championship. Now, Bryson Exenbald, the dominant racer, along with Adam Benefiel, Joseph McWhorter, Austin Evie, Lucas Hoitzman, Daniel Llewellyn, Charles Velasquez Jr., and Cameron Stone already locked into this season's playoff based off wins. Hunter Truex was able to seal the deal on points entering this week, so nothing to worry about if you're the top 9. The rest of the drivers in, though, the 3 more that are right now teetering on that cut line, they're going to enter this race with a little bit of nervousness, and a little bit of nervousness for one very good reason. When it comes to the points, especially for the likes of Eric Wineland, slotted in 10th, 80 points above that cut line, frankly, they just need to avoid drama like the plague, and they can come out of this race smelling like a bed of roses. However, the opportunity for the racers below that playoff cutoff line to maybe sneak a win is really looming in the back of everybody's head, including us on the air. We saw Mark Patchett before we got this broadcast up and rolling. Mark Patchett, very quick in that practice session a little bit earlier on, currently slotted P13, the first driver out of the playoffs right now. So 38 points would turn to naught if he gets that car into victory lane at the end of tonight. So keep an eye on those playoffs. We'll have our own special graphics throughout tonight's show to let you know who the playoff drivers are, what the situations are, and again, this being the FLC running based off how things are in real life. If you win, you're in. It doesn't really matter unless you're not a full-time racer. That is the deal. So let's get this race up and rolling. Warm-up already done and dusted. The checkered flag now out in this session, and we'll be able to take a look at that starting grid in just a couple of moments. Time for the 26th race of this season and the final race of the regular season in the process. That's going to be Mark Patchett starting this race from the pole position, doing exactly what he needed to do in that 02 car. He will start alongside Hunter Truex. Look at the gap between those two in that qualifying session as well. Bryson Exenbald will start this race in third alongside Blake Kluot in P4. Charles Velasquez Jr., the winner a little bit earlier on this season at Phoenix, will start this race in fifth as I get scared by something dropping on my desk, with Kyle Amon completing your third row. Mason Lowry will start this race in P7 alongside Joseph McWhorter in eighth. Raymond Root will start this race in ninth, with Jim Shufield running at your top 10, Ewan.
Justin Hall in the one car is 11th, that of Noah Woods. Lining up alongside then on row 6, Joey Beck and Adam Benefield will be on the next row. Benefield looking to add to his 4 wins already this season. Trace McDowell and Kevin Zoziak will be on row 8 ahead of Austin Ivey and Charles Eaton. And rounding out the top 20, it's Michael Ditch and Tanner Marty.
Then looking right behind on our 11th row of the starting grid, it's got to be Matthew Boston Wheeler alongside Connor E. Cunningham. Richard Jackson will start this race in 23rd alongside Kobe Warner in the number 72 machine. Edward Sherrod Jr., a rather interesting driver as of recent here in this series, will start this race in P25. Kirk Mills alongside in 26th. Eric Wineland will start in P27. Not a good start for him in that car. Brendan Hastings in the 81 machine will start this race in 28th. Tim Phillips in 29th. Brandon Mayfield will round out your top 30. Just a couple more starters here. Alex Princeton alongside, that is not a driver who will be taking the start. That's Jason S. Taylor, the other race control man here for this series. Daniel Llewellyn will start this race in 33rd alongside Steve Benjamin in 34th. Dave Hoytsma will start in P35 alongside Ken Ron in 36th. And that will round out your starting grid here for tonight's race. Quick little touch up on the information here. 160 lap stages coming at the end of lap number 35 and 70. 17x the usual incident cap with 4 tire sets allotted to these racers here tonight. And plenty at stake for these drivers. Plenty to lose for some, plenty to gain for others. This is going to be a race of true terror for many up and down the grid.
A huge race for some who are just outside of that cut line at the moment. As you saw with the points graphic a moment ago, not many are going to be able to race their way in on points other than the top 12 currently. So some of those, like Mark Paget on the pole, are going to have to do it with a win.
So let's see if we're going to have a shock win at the end of this regular season. Been a long and arduous journey up to this point, but now we got to think about those playoffs. That pay window open. It's crunch time, and we are racing here at Gateway. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Mark Paget not getting off to a good start there. Hunter Trull, that driver who really impressed earlier on this season in the Dash for Cash, he doesn't have to worry about making his way into the playoffs. He is already in, and he's on the outside of Paget. Got to try and clear him as they head their way down the backstretch for the very first time. Trull looks to clear the 0-2 of Paget, who's still trying to hold on to it on the inside line. The 71 clears him, though. Off into 3 and 4. Bryson Exenball, the 7-time race winner up to this point, looking to bounce back as he hasn't won since Indy some months ago. He's currently holding on to 3rd. Blake Kluot and Charles Velasquez Jr. round out your top 5 at the end of the first lap.
Yep, looking good all the way down the field. Good start from everybody, thankfully. But Hunter Trull taking the race lead away from Mark Paget to begin with. Look at that single file all the way down through the top 10, in fact, to look for 4th, though, as Velasquez tries to get down the inside of Blake Kluot on the way in towards 3 and 4. Not quite able to do it this time round.
And looking at these racers, they've kept it clean at the start of this race. I say that sparingly because I don't want to jinx it, but it's looking pretty all right for Hunter Trull, holding on to that lead. Mark Paget holding on to the fast lap of the race now with that cooker last time by. All of these racers trying to make hay while the sun is shining in the early stages of this race. 160 laps may seem like a while. That's because it is, but it feels like it could go by in the blink of an eye around this short track. It's kind of in that middle ground between being a short track and being an intermediate. It's an odd place, this.
I don't think it's quite a short track, is it? But not quite a mile and a half either, so not sure where you put this circuit in terms of a category. But yeah, it could be quite a quick feeling race tonight. The race info, the timing software telling us that we've only got 1 hour 27 to go. Now, obviously, that's not accounting for any of the cautions that might well happen, and we know that there's going to be 2 because of the stages. And there we go. There's the first of the day, as it's a spin off of turn 2 for Michael Deitch in car 88.
And that right there, I believe the technical term would be a commentator jinx there, Mr. O'Leary. Well done here. As we take a look at the moment, yeah, it was a sideways snap coming at turn number 2. No sort of contact. I think it just lost it. The asphalt around here, very choppy. You could just see it visually, seeing the various bits of sealant they have added around this track on this scan of this surface. Thankfully, we will be getting a rescan of this track in a couple of weeks' time here on iRacing. But for now, we're running on this configuration. Bump's probably going to be a huge killer for these racers all throughout tonight.
Is the new scan going to make this circuit any better? I mean, It's not going to change its layout, is it? So not sure how it's going to help, but there you go. It's a strange circuit and difficult to get underway for Deitch, it looks like. We've got already a car being waved by here. Steve Benjamin looks like he started the race late, disconnected towards the end of qualifying and warm-up, and is getting the wave around there, and is now only 2 laps down.
And yeah, that had to have been a late start for him, because I don't see any sort of penalties that anybody had to serve leaving last week's race at Portland and entering tonight's race here at Gateway. But we do have some drivers making a very, very early call to come down pit lane, potentially to repair some damage. I can see the 07 of Daniel Wallen, who got the season kicked off in rather convincing fashion with a win at Daytona. Ever since then, we haven't really seen the driver of the 07 car get into gear. I think he's probably taking fuel in the midst of all this. No damage, and certainly not a lot of gain coming in to take some tires, doubly so in this series where you only have 3 tire change allotted to you all throughout tonight. As hearing as well, black flag in the air for Steve Benjamin. Not a good way to start the night for the driver of the 53 machine.
No, not a good start at all, unfortunately, but when it rains, it pours. Thankfully, it's not actually raining, but it will feel like it at the moment down towards the back of the field for Steve Benjamin. As they complete the 6th lap, they should get double file, and a lap later we should get back going again here today. And hopefully that will set us up for a longer run. But the more cautions we have, the closer the first stage gets to us, and everybody, especially around that cut-off line, will start to scrap for points just a little bit. It's especially for the likes of Kirk Mills and Jim Schofield. Now, they are both only 11 points apart in 11th and 12th. If one of the other drivers wins outside of the top 12 today, and I calculated earlier on, I think there are 27 drivers maybe who have done enough races. Obviously, a lot of them will already be in the playoffs, but 27 drivers have done enough races to be in a win and you're in situation. Not sure they're all here today, but that just gives you an idea that the sort of day that Mills and Schofield might well have, and they need to pick up points here just in case they get bumped down and out to the playoffs on points.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword for them. They need to go and get some points for the sake of having a cushion and being in front of one another. It's very similar to what happened in the NASCAR Cup Series regular season finale a couple of weeks ago at Daytona, where Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman were having to battle to figure out who was going to be the first driver in on points, and who was going to be the one in a position to potentially get bumped in case there was a new winner. I mean, hey, you got 2 racers up in the front row of this restart who have yet to get into victory lane thus far this season. One already locked into the playoffs, the other being the first driver out. Let's just see how it's all going to work out here. The stage is important. We're about to get this stage restarted. We're back to racing here at Gateway. Truel, much more convincing of a restart than he had on the initial get-go, as Mark Patchett now slipping in P2. Blake Fluot battling hard with Bryson Hicksonball. Hicksonball, the 7-time race winner up to this point here in the season, battling hard with Fluot, who has been rather impressive as of recent here in this series. A newcomer to the championship. He won at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago, but because he hasn't been around at all this season, he is not really in playoff contention. And he's now battling hard with Charles Velasquez Jr., who I think is a sleeper pick for tonight's race. He wanted Phoenix a little bit earlier on this season, and when you think of weird flat ovals that these cars run on, you kind of think it too. You think of Gateway and you think of Phoenix.
Yeah, it's very similar in that sense. Obviously, there are others around the world, flatter short tracks, but you know the likes of Martinsville and so on are a little bit different. As a look to the inside, this is into 3 and 4. That's for Jodic with Water coming down the inside of Clouat and gets through into the top 5. As you mentioned, Clouat only making his 4th appearance of the season, hence why he's not a factor for the playoffs.
Yeah, still a very impressive racer, and looking to have a good run here tonight as he holds on to a spot inside the top 10. Side-by-side racing going on right behind. That's some gutsy stuff that we're seeing all through turns number 1 and 2. That's the 06 and Matthew Boston Wheeler battling hard with himself. I believe that's Charles Eden, the number 75 car on the outside of him. Meanwhile, right in front, Connery Cunningham and Eric Wineland battling hard. You can see Cunningham in that number 78 machine. God bless America. That is a beautiful looking paint scheme. I am definitely biased in that regard. Eric Wineland in the drafting car machine looking to get a good result here. Started way farther towards the back. That 80-point gap that he had in the playoffs, I've said many, many times, I'll continue to say it. A big gap in the points is like a spare parachute whenever you go skydiving. It's a good thing to have. It makes you feel a lot happier, but in an ideal world, you won't have to use it.
Absolutely. It's a good analogy for the situation. McWhorter's making a very good restart here. You can see 73 now on the back of Velasquez for 4th place after getting through previously on the 40. Just in the background, we're right on board now with car 73. See if there's a lunge down the inside here into 1. No, there's nothing just yet, but into 1 and 2. It's restarting well. You've got to be careful, of course, because you don't want to burn through the tyres too quickly. But you know that there's going to be a caution at 35, so knowing that, you might be able to go out a little bit harder than maybe what we're going to see on the restart at lap 70 or after lap 70 when we've started the final stage of the day.
Yeah, I think as we have seen a lot throughout this season, these stages can be a little bit of a happy hunting ground for some as they try and experiment, figure out what's going to work, what won't work. It is a learning curve that these racers go through all throughout these events. Stage 1, you dip your toes into that pool, see what the temperature of the water is, then you can really try and get comfortable in Stage 2, and then comes time for that final stage, especially for racers trying to battle their way when it comes to the point situation. That's the point in time where you just have to swim as fast as you possibly can. Even if your body doesn't want to, even if it feels like every single muscle in your body is cramping simultaneously, you have to go for it. That is what we're going to see later on tonight. But right now, about halfway through this first stage already, Hunter Truex still leading over Mark Paget, over Bryson Ixenball, Charles Velasquez Jr., Joseph McWhorter, Blake Bluot, Kyle Amon, Adam Benefield, Mason Lowry, and Raymond Root round out your top 10 at the present moment as we look at battling with Dustin Hall heading his way down the back straightaway with himself and Shoefield, a close quarters battle as they head their way off into 3 and 4, and that's going to be Hall jumping his way up into 11th in the 1 machine.
Very close to the wall there for Velasquez as the pace car. Velasquez just in front into turn 1 and again getting close with McWhorter just in behind, but not able to get through. Yeah, good pass further back for Dustin Hall up into 11th place now, just on the back of that top 10, which of course will get you some points in 20 laps time, currently being held by Raymond Root, who is holding that position at the moment, into 3 and 4 again. Just, down into this sort of more open of the two ends of the racetrack and back out onto the front straight again. Seeing it all over the circuit. Some of these drivers have restarted quite well and have got pace clearly that is better than some of those around them, and Hall seems to be one of them to go along as well with McWhorter as well, who's up inside the top 5 and does seem to be a bit quicker than guys he's stuck behind as well.
Yeah, Joseph McWhorter grabbed his opening and so far only win of the season at Pocono in rather exciting and dramatic fashion. It was actually himself and the number 83 of Adam Benefield, who we see on screen right now, duking it out for that P7 spot with himself and Kyle Amon, who's now slotted down in 8th. Benefield was the other end of that battle, and Benefield, the only other racer thus far in this season, both the ones who are full-time and literally anybody here in the 2025 season for the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series to get more than 1 win. He's gotten 4, and they've come in clumps in an odd way. He grabbed his first 2 wins of the season at Martinsville and Darlington, and then it took him quite a while to return to victory lane, got done at Dover, and then followed that up a few weeks later with a win at Iowa. Seems like these short tracks may be a happy hunting ground for him. The weird short tracks seem to be the happy hunting ground for him. We think of tracks like Martinsville and Iowa. If you kind of merge the two together along with Darlington, you do come out with a weird amalgamation of what this track is. So keep an eye on that number 83 car to potentially impress and grab win number 5 tonight.
I think Iowa's a very good comparison, probably the best comparison actually for this track in my mind. Maybe they're banking a little bit steeper, but I think it's pretty comparable really to what we see here tonight at Gateway. Iowa, of course, a round of the championship not all that long ago. It actually started, or was second, sorry, in a run of the last 5 races where we've had 5 different winners. And hopefully as neutrals, I'm kind of hoping that that's going to continue on here tonight. And it's a good sign of a healthy series going forward into the playoffs next week, starting in the next round at Bristol, in the round of 12, as down the inside there. Is that Velasquez again getting back through? Nope, that's not. That's somewhere else in the field. Schofield ahead of Root, who's going backwards. Noah Woods also looking to follow through, but not quite managing it yet.
And they are still side by side as they had their way through there. Meanwhile, up in the front, getting very close between these two competitors, Hunter Truex and Mark Paget. Now about a tenth and a half separate the two of them as they head their way down the backstretch, off into 3 and 4 right now. On the brakes, they're going to go trying to hit that apex. You can see that inside curb, rather rare feature of most oval tracks, but we do have it here at Gateway. Inside curbs for these racers to run at, rather fascinating in that regard. Just to touch on and to wrap up the points around the other similarities between this track and Iowa Speedway, not too terribly far apart, and this is going to be a statement that is absolute sacrilege to everybody else who's in this broadcast booth outside of me being the only American here. Only about 5.5 hours between the two tracks, so that is a rather quick drive considering this part of the country. As Brandon Hastings may have had a moment a little bit earlier on in this race, he's actually lagged out the session, so unfortunately for him, I think the hamster running on the wheel inside his Wi-Fi router gave out.
Say that, he's actually back in the session now, so he must have had that incident earlier on. And he's now back in, as far as I can see in my timing anyway. He's 7 laps down and back in the session again, but maybe that's not true. We'll find out. It's certainly too many laps to regain again and get back into contention, I don't think, over the course of a race like this. There is car 81, so he is back on the track at least. And it's good to get out there back on the circuit again. Not that the points particularly matter at this stage in the season for him. It's good to get back out there anyway and try and finish this race. And so far, all of the 35 starters are attempting to do so.
Yeah, been a rather clean start. We've only had one incident. It was a single car spin heading out turn number 4. But if these racers try and duke it out like that, we may have another yellow interruption. As look at Kevin Kosiak in that number 37 machine on the inside of the 95 as they head their way down into turn number 3 and 4. That's Joey Beck holding on to that P15 spot for now. But Matthew Boston Wheeler going to force the issue on the inside line in the 06 car. That's going to be some close quarter stuff as they head their way out of turn number 4. Close making contact farther behind with Connor Cunningham and Eric Wineland. That could have ended in disaster.
Look at the background there as well, by the way. There was a very big group tearing down towards turn number 1. 3 rows of 2 wide. Looked like there may have been a hint of a 3 wide moment as well, just before they popped into shot out of turn 4 that time round, just as we go to them, they get single file. But yeah, have a look at this. They're just nudging on 3 wide. They're having a look, and here we go. Oh, big look to the inside. Give everybody room. It's quite a wide circuit, but actually the line you want to use is quite narrow, and that makes things very difficult indeed. The 20 car is getting way too high there. Trace McDowell is going to go backwards if you run quite that high up the circuit.
Yeah, that is not the good line to run at all, and they are still duking at. Look at that number 88. Oh, look at that number 88 machine trying to run on the outside of the 03 of Austin Evie. That was such a close quarters moment that I got my tongue wrapped around my teeth about 16 times. As I break out the can of WD-40 to chug to fix that problem, we still look at these racers down to 3 and 4 once again.
So probably the most exciting moment of the race so far in terms of a group battling away. I kind of wish these guys were sort of the leaders battling away like this, but it's a group a long way further down. You can question the sense of it, but not the entertainment. It's for 22nd position that's still going on back here. Tanner Marty is one of the drivers involved, by the way, and he's one of those in a must-win situation tonight. Starts of the day, 112 points below the cut line. He's not going to make that up in one night. He has to win tonight if he wants a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, that is a necessity for him. There's no question or shadow of a doubt about it. But looking at this battle, it is still close quarter stuff as they had their way out of 4 onto that start-finish straightaway. Getting to the end of this stage as well. Time flies when you're having fun. Not too terribly far away from that stage break. And when it comes, we are going to have another shakeup on our hands of what's already been an absolutely fantastic race here for the regular season finale for the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series, and to all be this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment. If you're enjoying the action, happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action, which is certainly intense up at the front with Hunter Truex and Bryson Hixenball, 2 drivers already locked into the playoffs. Right now being a bread of a sandwich with Mark Paget doing everything in his power to even give himself a hope of making those playoffs. It's definitely still a win and you're in situation for him, but if he can get some good results here and find himself in a spot to battle for that win later on in this race, I don't think Mark Paget in that O2 machine would complain one bit.
No, absolutely. He's just there or thereabouts right now, and that's all you really need at this stage. Just hanging about at the front of the field and showing you can run with the top guys, and that's certainly what Paget has been able to show so far. Adam Benefield seems to be one of the other drivers behind who I think has got the pace of this front three, which are certainly showing themselves to be the strongest three in the field, I think. But Benefield might well join them. He's been working his way through the field in the last few moments, now up to 6th place. I think this stage might just come at the wrong time, actually, because we're only 6 laps away, of course, from the end of stage 1.
Yeah, only a smattering of laps left to go for these racers, and who's going to peak at the right time is Hicksonball, trying to give a challenge to these two. Bryson been the dominant force up to this point in the championship, but as I said a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, been a while since he visited Victory Lane. It may not be the longest in the world, but hey, the last time we went to Victory Lane was at Indianapolis all the way back on July the 25th. We're now at the beginning of September, so I think that is a very long winless streak in the world of Bryson Hicksonball. He may well try and snap that here tonight as he looks to the inside of Paget. Here we go down to turn number 1 and 2. Hicksonball looking to jump his way up into second. The O2 machine of Paget runs a little bit high off into the gray, into the marbles, and the OPR, the other people's rubber, and that's got to be Hicksonball taking what was another person's spot.
Yeah, and it's another underscoring of his dominance so far this season. The only driver who's going to score more than 1,000 points in the regular season. That's confirmed. He's going to win the regular season championship by about 150 points. It's been a season of absolute dominance. It's going to be so difficult to beat in the playoffs. We don't want to go too soon, obviously, I think, but you get the feeling that one of those drivers who's almost putting themselves into a situation of being in the playoffs already. In the later rounds of the playoffs already with the wins so far that he's gaining. It's just been a brilliant regular season. And might even try and underscore it with a stage win here. Hunter Trull has not got this won by any means just yet.
Yeah, that he does not. Trull still going to feel that pressure. A 10.5 between those two as they come across the line to start another lap. Will Hicksonball try and do that move? Trull trips up a little bit through turns number 1 and 2. And here we go. Hicksonball cutting down to that inside line. Kisses that inside curb ever so slightly. And here we go. Side by side down the backstretch. Hicksonball going to hold on to the inside line. Hunter Trull going to look to try and arc it through into the turn and keep the momentum rolling on the high side. But Hicksonball just going to dive it off into the turn and jump into P1 in a rather comfortable fashion.
It looks like it's just becoming clear now anyway that Hicksonball was just waiting for his moment to strike. He was just sat behind those two, waiting, saving tyres until this very moment here, and he's passed Trull and Paget very quickly to get into the lead. The top 7 though are all still pretty close. Paget's coming under pressure himself from Velasquez in the background in 64. This is not over as they're about to see the last lap for this first stage.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, Ewan. As they head their way through turns number 3 and 4, the white flag going to be out for stage number 1. It's a very short first stage here, but it's just enough for these racers to get a bit of experience, get a bit of knowledge about how this race is going to be in the totality. Hicksonball starts the final lap of this first stage, shifts it off into turn number 1. Trull misses the turn a little bit. Here comes Paget fighting down on the inside. May not be the stage win for him. He wants that regular race win, though, and he just wants to hold on to any spot that he can. Look at Charles Velasquez Jr. He's right there to Shrek as well. That 64 car looking to peak at the right time and go back to victory lane for the first time since the spring. That would be a good result for him. But Bryson Hicksonball in the number 63 machine. First time we've seen him do this in a while. He gets the stage win over Hunter Trull, Mark Paget, Charles Velasquez Jr. right behind Paget as they cross that line to take that green-white checkered. But the yellow is out at the end of stage number 1. And here are your stage 1 results. Hicksonball grabs the checkered flag. I doubt very highly that he's from Antarctica, but he has ice in his veins. Getting another stage win here. Hunter Trull finishing right behind him, P2. Mark Paget marked out with that red number. He is below that playoff cutoff line, doing everything he needed to do in that first stage. It may not be the stage win, but still no good result for him. He rounds out your top 3. Charles Velasquez Jr. in P4, Joseph McWhorter in 5th, Adam Benefiel in P6, Blake Kluot in P7, Kyle Amon, Mason Lowry, and Dustin Hall round out your top 10 at the end of an action-packed first stage here, Ewan.
It certainly was, and a great finish to it as well, with Hixenborg taking those 2 positions in the final 5 laps or so. Now the first real bit of interest with pit strategy begins, because you only get 3 tyre changes throughout this race tonight. If you do it at the 2 stages, which I think would be the conventional wisdom, it only gives you 1 for the last 90 laps, 1 tyre change for the last 90 laps, and that seems to be quite a long way. But if you also stay out under this caution, you're going to get killed. So I think it's probably the smart thing that most of, if not all of, the drivers are going to come in here. It's going to be a very busy pit lane.
And here we go. The first pit stops of this race. This is going to be intense. Who's going to be able to make it out? Obviously, tire change is going to be on the forefront of everybody's minds. Look at the racetrack. Look at that surface. It's about as patchy as my face when I was 14. These racers are going to be so happy to get some new Goodyears on their cars. That tire going to be screaming in pain. All of them going to be screaming in agony. Up on the jacks, all of these racers are going to go. You look at Hixenborg in that third from end pit stall. Will he be able to get out in first? Will Mark Padgett maybe be able to jump out? Is anybody going to risk it for a 2-tire stop? And away there go. That's going to be a good stop for Hixenborg. Not a great one though for Padgett, as he loses out on that P3 to Charles Velasquez Jr. They're all going to shake out 1 spot behind those. Trace McDowell has actually stayed out to take the race lead, and not alone in all that. Actually, no, that's the number 81 of Brandon Hastings after some drama a little bit earlier on in this race. Trace McDowell, interesting call. I gotta say, the 20 car probably gonna get chewed up and spat out on this restart, but hey, at least clicking some laps in the race lead.
And more tyres to use later, which might be the big motivation here. I'm surprised not more were tempted to do that, or indeed do 2 tyres. Raymond Root did 2 tyres, that's why he's up to 6th place. Only a 10-second stop for Joey Beck. Not sure what was going on there. That's a bit long for 2 tyres, but I guess it must be. And a couple of repaired cars happening a bit further down. Kevin Zosiak is seemingly running some repairs at the moment and needs to get out pretty quickly so as not to fall a lap down, and actually has fallen a lap down now. Unfortunately, repairs are going on for quite a long time down there. So 32 on the lead lap. Everybody's still in the race at least, but yeah, McDowell in the lead, and I don't mind this call, to be honest. It's not bad to get off strategy when you've been a little bit further down the field.
Yeah, I think if they can hold on to the car, I'm not even going to say hold on to that spot, because I fully expect them to drop down like a tungsten block thrown into a bowl full of pudding. Probably going to be a very rough restart for McDowell, and as long as they could just stay with it in this stage that is coming up here, about 30 laps that we'll have of a green flag running at the most for this stage. So it's not impossible. The tires will probably be worn down to the canvas, though. So keep an eye on that number 20 car. Very likely going to drop back. But if they can make this work and have some new tires, if we have a little bit of late race drama, keep an eye on that number 20 machine to maybe shock the world. But here we go. That pace car makes that turn to come down pit lane. We're about to get stage 2 up and rolling here for the regular season finale. And we are back to green. A fantastic jump there for the number 20 of Trace McDowell. And that is a legal restart, too. Just jumped it immediately and gets off to a flyer. Hunter Truel now giving Bryson Hixenborg hell on the inside. Headaches being given for sure, but Truel with a lot of momentum all through 1 and 2. Now gonna keep McDowell on his side-by-side down the backstretch. They're gonna fan out in that battle for the race win, and now look at Hixenborg and Velasquez Jr. Look like they're going to scrap for P3.
Oh, no!
Getting set off big time. That's gonna be a round of bowling.
Oh my word, it looks like we might have got away with it. Have we got away with it? Not quite, no. We did for a lot longer than I thought we would, I must be honest, but we're still green at the moment. Cody Warner was the driver who went straight across the middle of the circuit. Somehow, we have not seen a caution yet. Now we do. It just wasn't appearing in the top left. I apologise. It's a caution now. Cody Warner, the driver, who fires across the inside at turn 3. Oh.
Give me a P, give me a U, give me an N, give me a T. That looked like a punt heading down into the turn. I think it came from the number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. Yes, it did. stocking up down into turn number 3, and nothing that Cody Warner could have done. Nothing that Austin Evie could have done either. That's a big detriment to the driver of the 03 machine. Any hope that he had of making the playoffs all or less shot now, as it was some more drama. Oh, that was as they came to take the yellow, a pile-up, heading their way down the start-finish straightaway. Joseph McWhorter got spun. We're going to have to take a look at some more replays of that. What in the world happened to McWhorter here?
It's because second place in regular season points, by the way, and Benefield might well benefit now as a result of that. It's all a big stack up into 3 and 4, and this is no doubt not being caused by Trace McDowell, but certainly not helped by having an older tyre runner. And look at the stack up there, and then turns the 02. No. Oh my word! Look at this.
Oh, and that is absolute catastrophe, and frankly, nothing that he could have done there for Mark Padgett, the 02 car. I really don't know what the deal was heading down that start-finish straightaway, stacking up as the yellow came out. If there's anybody who has the right to be absolutely furious, is the 02 of Mark Padgett. He did everything right in that first stint, and now it's all come down to naught with a damaged race car. Even if he decides to get that car repaired, that is still going to be a giant kick in the shins, and a kick in the shins that was frankly unnecessary. That right there was such a messy incident coming to take the yellow. I understand it is a very narrow start-finish straightaway here. There have been start crashes at the IndyCar races here many, many times. I flash back to 2020, but that right there, even with the stacking up, that's just ugly. There's no other way to describe it.
It's a shame for Padgett, really, because, as you say, it was having a good run so far tonight. So many others getting involved. Justin Hall, I think that was. The one car getting involved as well. This is what McWhorter saw. And not really sure why he turns that. Oh, it's a big stack up. And he's, I guess, loose a little bit. But, yeah, turns Padgett, unfortunately, and causes his own demise as well, unfortunately. So that's a real shame. It's not benefited anybody. McWhorter's lost points, and he'll lose second in the regular season championship now. And Mark Padgett might have just lost the chance to be in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about that incident, frankly. So I'm going to I'm going to take the high road on it. Hunter Truex and Bryson Ixenball going to be your front row for this first restart of the night. We're hearing them at quarters out of this race. A lot of retirements from it all. Mark Padgett, not only is he down pit lane, I'm pretty sure he has any sort of black flag in the air for him as well. So things going from bad to worse to even worse still. But here we go. That pace car making the turn to come down pit lane. It's going to be Hunter Truex and Bryson Ixenball leading us back to green. A Toyota and a Ford up at the front. Who's going to get off to the good restart? We're back to racing. They're just about even keel. Look at the number 20 of Trace McDowell. That is a fantastic run of form for that number 20 car, despite being on those much older tires. But that could have ended in disaster with Kyle Amon in the 17 car. I am going to shut my mouth before I jinx anybody else.
You've got to watch out here of the 20 because, it's an absolutely fine strategy to take here with the older tyres, but it is causing a bit of a stack up. And you could argue, although a bit of a stretch maybe, that it caused the incident off of 4 on the front stretch that we saw a few moments ago. It just as that first caution for incident came out here today, or second caution for incident, I should say. McDowell's going to drop a long way through the field, but this is not what's the concern. This will. Oh, and there you go. There's the. There it happens. I said it a lap ago. The stack up that McDowell causes there will cause an incident behind, and there you have it. A caution on the backstretch.
And let's see the drama. It was the 06 and the 42. You can see Mason Lowry in that car trying to hold on and cutting down to the inside. As you said a little bit earlier on in the show, and that inside line is so important around here that you pretty much have to stop at no end to try and cut down on that inside. Very unfortunate there for the 42 of Mason Lowry. But around this track, you're just as screwed as you would be trying to hold it onto the outside, and just a huge stack up there coming out of the turn. The 87 of Eric One getting a piece of all that drama as well. Keep an eye on that chase there. You can see the contact with Lowry getting center punch, and he actually popped up in the air in the midst of all that.
And as I say, just to make clear that McDowell's an absolute right to be there. This would be a good shot off of 4. Looking at all the avoidance going on in the background. Thankfully, the grass doesn't chew your car up in our racing, and that's a relief to lots of those drivers who went down the left-hand side. But yeah, I mean, McDowell's an absolute right to be there. And actually, the more cautions there are, the better it is for car 20. I think because there's less time to lose positions and track time on those older tyres, and effectively saving a set of tyres. I think if that car can make it to lap 70. McDowell can look back at this first 70 laps and think, job well done. I've saved a set of tyres completely for the end of the race here.
Yeah, I think that may end up being what saves the 20 the most out of all of this as we take a look. Richard Jackson! And that is the contact being made. You can see that hood popping up and down like a misshapen Lego. It pops off the car. Contact being made, big contact down that back straightaway. And another yellow for incident. Stage 1, rather smooth. Stage 2, thus far, been anything but. But no, Ewan, you brought up a pretty good point there. And I think there's a lot that these racers are going to be thinking as we have had this messy start of Stage 2. But one driver has certainly benefited from it the most is Trace McDowell. And definitely dropped back from where that car once was, but frankly, if we were running green ever since the other restart of this race and the start of stage number 2 some 7-ish laps ago, that number 20 car would, I would say, probably not even be inside the top 15. It's not a saving grace 100%, but it is an assistance, and an assist can help you out a lot.
No, I think it kind of is. I mean, they're saving a set of tyres for later on. And this is, again, go back to what I said earlier, I'm surprised nobody else even attempted to do this, because this race does have the potential to be a little bit of a yellow fest. I mean, we've seen that in the first part here, and it's largely being caused by the drivers not expecting a slower driver on older tyres. They surely must all know by now, but sometimes knowing is not enough, and it can cause problems anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another yellow here before the actual end of this stage, which is still 22 laps away, don't forget. It's not really about, I don't think, where McDowell finishes at the end of this stage. It's about the tyres that are being saved for later. 90 laps with just one tyre change available to these guys is a long way, and I think McDowell has recognised that and thought, you know, I'm going to try and save a set for later when it really matters, because I know that there's going to be a caution to allow me to catch up again on lap 70.
Yeah, I appreciate that call from the number 20 just because it gives us a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to the strategy content in this second stage. And who knows, maybe we could see some more of that go on as we get the final stage up and rolling. Let's just see as we're getting this race back up and rolling with Hunter Truel gunning it rather early. And he is going to have a big cushion heading off into turn number 1 and 2. Looking at him, Benefield trying to peak at the right time. The number 83 car, talked about him a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, but wasn't really running in a spot like he is right now. P2 from Benefield, he's going to be quite happy about that as he's cleared Bryson Exenball. Those two, a nice friendly rivalry between each other. You will come to realize that there is nobody who's a bigger fan and a bigger hater of Bryson Exenball than Adam Benefield. He is also not a fan when we talk about Exenball too much on these shows.
We'll keep that in mind as they run at the front together at the moment. McDowell getting overtaken this time by Noah Woods down the inside, and a general stream of drivers coming down the inside. Now McDowell outside of the top 10. I think you're right that, you know, if this has been green all the way so far, that McDowell would be outside of the top 15, and that might even be being a little bit generous to what might happen. Oh, super close as 06 there, and Matthew Boston Wheeler gets really close to Kyle Amon out of 4.
Yeah, that could have ended in disaster. These racers, despite the trouble we've already had in this second stage, decide to throw caution to the wind still and get oh so close. That's contact being made as they head their way out through turn number 1. Look at Noah Woods in that number 56 machine right alongside and making contact with the 95 right in front. Noah Woods has been run the 68th throughout most of the season, so interesting to see a number change for him. Not sure what the deal is there, but Exenball now holding on to P3 right behind Benefield. feel, as has been the case. These two looking to break away. Charles Velasco Jr. once again impressing me. I said this a little bit earlier on in the show. Wanted Phoenix in the early stages of this season, already locked into the playoffs, and has shown some all right speed in rounds since. But I feel like these flat ovals may be Charles Velasco Jr.'s bread and butter.
Now, maybe certainly looking that way at the moment, and that's a good thing to head towards the end of the season with. That is for sure. You're going to be strong at Phoenix. You've just got to focus on making it there at the end of the season, which is easier said than done, far easier said than done, but it does help a lot. The way that NASCAR format is these days, you've got to be strong at the final circuit. Used to be Homestead. It probably has cost a few drivers in the real world and the virtual world some championships. Not quite being good at the final track. It's a big part of the requirements for a champion these days.
And I could probably go off on a whole little tirade about the other NASCAR championship format. I will say, if Corey Heim doesn't win the NASCAR Truck Series championship this year before he probably makes a step up to Cup soon, I would consider that the ultimate misjustice in recent racing history. As look at that close quarter stuff down to turn number 1, the 20 of Trace McDowell nearly getting sent down to the turn by Eric Wineland, who's been on a rather mighty drive up to this point. I haven't really seen him break into the top 10 yet, but still pretty good. Finale at Martinsville, please. I don't think there's been many phrases that have been shown up on that graphic throughout the season that have caused me to feel violently quite like that. Is that some big wall contact from some cars a little bit farther behind, coming out at turn number 4 with the side-by-side racing still going on with Wineland and the 20 of McDowell. Yeah,
and McDowell doing a good job now at just holding a little bit better than before. Before, there was a lot of positions being bled quite quickly by car 20, but now it's looking a little bit better. The stream of cars coming through a little bit slower, which I guess is maybe expected with a single file nature of this, but it is a little bit more manageable. Later on, I would imagine, next caution probably, McDowell will take tyres, and I think that's probably a good call here, whether it's before the stage or not. Just do something a little bit different. So surprised that car 20 is the only one to do something a little bit different, but it's such a good idea, especially if you weren't running in the top 10 in the first run.
Yeah, Stage 2 can be the opportunity for many a racer to reinvent themselves in one of these events. Kirk Mills now fighting down the inside. That's a battle for P11 with himself and Brandon Mayfield, marked as the number 30 on our graphics. Actually has a number 88 on the side of his car. Shame. No, I'm just kidding. Not really. Kirk Mills slotted in P12 right now. You can see him clicking off to 165 miles an hour off into the turn. Nice to see our Maconi Entertainment colleague running all right in this event, and with some of the drama with himself and some of those other racers trying to make their way off into the playoffs, it's been a pretty all right run for him, but it's still not fantastic. Because right now, as it stands, I believe he would still be the last driver in on points, which is okay, yeah, but it's still not ideal.
No, it's not particularly ideal. It's not going to make you feel comfortable. But yeah, there was no difference between the two contenders, the 11th and 12th place drivers, Mills and Schofield, at the end of that first stage. By the way, neither of them scored any points as far as I could tell. So this time it's going to be different, because it looks like both of them might end up in the top 10 actually. But yeah, you'd be very, very nervous if you were in that 12th position and just at the whim effectively of a driver who could jump up and win a race. You never know what can happen around these tracks, especially at a short track like this one. You've got to cover yourself, and getting into the top 10 here would go away to achieving that for Kirk Mills, who's looking for this 10th place here.
As we jump up to this battle, up at the front, Hunter Trull, Adam Benefield, and Bryson Hicksonball all covered by about a half a second as they lick the stamp and set it off into turn number 3. You can also see there the sun slowly but surely dipping below that horizon. Nighttime is coming up quick here at Gateway, as that's a wall scrape from Hicksonball coming out of turn number 4. Starting to see that safer barrier on the outside end up with a white paint scattered all across that start-finish straightaway. See many a racer tap the wall coming out of there. Turn 3 and 4, the sort of turn where you just kind of have to keep the momentum rolling and really hope that he can hold on to it. We've seen that a lot throughout this race. Probably going to see a lot of it between now and the end of this. Is looking down the inside into 3 and 4 is Adam Benefiel on the inside, the 71 of Hunter Truex. Truex now going to have to keep that momentum rolling as Benefiel makes contact with him coming out of the turn. That could have ended in catastrophe, but Benefiel's still there to pounce. Hixenball going to be enjoying this side-by-side battle, and he will be there to pick up the pieces in case these drivers end in disaster. Now Benefiel looking to clear him coming out of the turn. Truex a little bit slow as he arced it off through turns number 1 and 2. They are still side-by-side down the backstretch into 3 and 4 yet again.
Don't forget what Hixenball did, by the way, at the previous stage end, just with about 10 laps to go. This was the point in the race where he started to just make a few moves and start to look at second and first position, and eventually ended up winning that first stage, of course. I wonder whether he's going to do the same here as Adam Benefiel takes the lead from Hunter Truex, who got off to a pretty fast start, but that might be coming back to bite him here. Or maybe Benefiel's got a stronger car over the course of 20 laps or so, or 15 laps or so, which this run has been now. He just, in my experience anyway, I've only seen him do a few races now, but he seems to have good long-run speed in pretty much whenever, really. And he's showing that right now, at least medium run, I guess we can call this. As Hixenball looks to try and follow through and repeat what he managed in stage 1. Here he comes off of 4.
And side by side across the line, who's going to win out in this battle? Hixenball holding on to that inside line, gets a nose out at the apex, down into 1 and 2, and he's going to be able to clear him with Truex. Not really fighting that off too much. Now we've got the two dominant racers here in this season scrapping out for the stage 2 victory. Getting to the end of the stage as well. That stage break coming at the end of lap number 70, so not a lot of time left for these racers to negotiate with each other and hold on to their spots. Benefiel now has one agenda, one thing on his mind. He wants to grow that gap between himself and Hixenball.
Yeah, and that's the good way to do it as well. There's no point sort of sitting around and conserving for the point at which he catches you, because in a face-to-face battle might not go so well for you. So you've got to try and put distance between yourself and Hixenball as much as possible. Try and almost prevent the battle from ever happening, because then I guess you can't lose the battle and you can win the stage. But with 6 laps to go, it looks like Hixenball's got enough to bring that gap back again.
Yeah, will he be able to reel in Benefiel? Will he be able to get that move done? Let's just find out. Hixenball putting in some stormers of laps as of recent. He is right there, nearly to the back bumper of the 83, taking up his rear view mirror as they head their way down the back straightaway. The lights slowly but surely turning on a rather hazy gateway here tonight, and Hixenball looking to close up that gap. He won in stage number 1, wants to get done in stage number 2, and he is right there to pounce. Looking now a little bit farther behind, side-by-side racing with the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler and the 56 of Noah Woods, who's going to win out in this scrap. That's a little bit farther behind those racers up the front, still running for some spots. Of course, important in the points for all of these racers. That's a battle for P7 and P8 right now, as it looks like Hixenball still slowly reeling him in, but those gains have certainly become a bit smaller.
Yeah. We've gone yellow here with 5 laps to go. Trying to find out what's happened around the circuit to bring out this caution, which might leave us green with just the 1 lap to go until the stage. Or are we even going to finish this stage maybe under caution?
That was Richard Jackson. So we saw him pile into an incident a little bit earlier on, and contact being with himself in the 03, and contact big touches down that start-finish stretch. Holy cow.
A couple who were behind side by side couldn't slow down in time to the developing disaster that was happening in front of them. Fortunately, Richard Jackson was already multiple laps down after a long repair earlier. That might be that for Jackson. By the way, at that point we had 31 cars still running, as some of them, by the way, further down had gotten back into the race. Unfortunately, not any of the front runners from before. So what Dustin Hall saw, I think unsighted here, might be in a bit of trouble. Yep, there you go. He's going to pile in. You can see it's easy to say slow down, but you can see from the cockpit view there, completely unsighted. Will have had no idea that was happening, as everybody, by the way, in live pictures is coming into pit lane.
Yeah, so with the stage break coming up here in a couple of moments, everybody makes that call to come down pit lane. Adam Benefiel, you can see how farther up pit lane he is compared to everybody else he was around. Shows you that despite having a bad qualifying performance, he is still here to pounce in this race. Interesting to see just about everybody make that call to pit here. And I'm trying to look to see, has a 20 made that call to come down pit lane? Is that the car that I see there a little bit farther behind? I think that may potentially be it, but there we go. That's going to be Hicksonball jumping in front of Benefiel through that pit cycle.
Yep, pit stop's crucial, especially when there's going to be so many cautions, and it's likely that we won't see any green flag pit stops over the course of tonight. Those pit stops are going to be so crucial. Benefiel's pit stop was the longest one of anybody inside the top 16, and that probably explains why he lost the lead there to Hicksonball, who might well take the stage now. We're not going to get back green again, are we? So this is going to end under caution. Or are we going to go back green at the end of lap 70? Then what happens?
I think they may attempt to have a one-lap dash to the end of this. That, or they're going to restart it exactly at the end of lap number 70, and then they'll immediately throw the yellow at. That would be a rather funny series of events. Did they try to do that? The Australian Grand Prix a couple of years ago? Oh yeah, here we go. The lights are out on the pace car, so we're going to have a quick little dash to end off the stage, and here we go.
Who's that battered, limping back past the pace car there, by the way? Barely a car, that really, passing the pace car on the inside. Not sure who that was, but we've only got 25 on the lead lap now, and a number running one lap down. Justin Hall's taking some pretty long repairs. We've got some other pretty long repairs happening further down the field, but the smart call really from most of the guys to come into the pit lane. Again, surprised that nobody decided to stay out really, but there you go. People not feeling particularly brave tonight.
Yeah, so not feeling particularly bold, adventurous insert phrase here, but they've given us a heck of a lot of drama to talk about here in stage number 2. I said this even right after the first incident that we had in this stage, that, you know, these racers saw that stage 1, thought it was a little bit too tame, and decided to bring the chaos and the drama here in stage number 2. But here we go, that pace car making the turn to come down pit lane. Going to be a quick, small little dash through to the end of this second stage. And it's our two dominant racers, the 83 of Benefiel with a not-so-good restart on the inside. The 63 of Hicksonball with a fantastic run. Look at Charles Velasco Jr. looking to follow in suit. The Team Conti racer overtaking his Team Conti teammates as we have a yellow. That's going to end the stage. They have a big wreck off through turn number 1, I believe.
It's a spinner at the back end of the field. It's like Noah Woods, who's dropped to the back of the lead lap. He's now the last of the lead lap drivers in 25th position. After this into turn 1 and 2. Oh, he got served there. That's the back end of it, but he definitely got served. More contact a little bit further down as some of the guys powered in. Try and see here if we can see who actually serves him. Unless he spins that viciously on his own, but I'd be surprised. Oh, it's going to be a bowling. It's a bit of bowling. There you go. There's a well, that's not quite a strike, is it? I'll call it a spare. Trace McDowell, unfortunately, hitting the back of the driver in front, and they hit Woods at the end of that. So that brings the end of the second stage, rather.
Yeah, here are your results at the end of the second stage. It's Hicksonball again, a sweep of the stages. He wins it here. Charles Velasco Jr. in second. Adam Benefiel, Hunter Truel, Kyle Amon, Jim Shoefield, Matthew Boston Wheeler, Edward Scherer Jr., Brandon Mayfield, and Kirk Mills round at your top 10 at the end of stage number 2. Interesting to see Kyle Amon and his form thus far here in this race. That would be an upset. I mean, entering this race, he was 67 back of that cutoff line. Really no hope as soon as this race started of him getting in through points, and with Mark Padgett getting struck by a falling anvil early on, I think Kyle Amon may find himself in a good spot, but to potentially, second tries a charm, to potentially lock his way off into the playoffs with a walk-off win here in the season finale. Yeah, and it would be at the moment still Jim Schofield who would lose out, but Schofield got 4 points closer to Kirk Mills there, so they're 7 points apart now in the standings, in 11th and 12th. Don't forget, you don't really want to be 12th, although that is a transfer spot at the moment. If somebody wins that you're not expecting and you have to drop to the back of the field, then that can be
a big problem. So yeah, that's something to consider with Mills losing those 4 points.
And I think I raised this, or I attempted to raise it as all the drama and chaos of Stage 2 was going on, but I will reiterate it just because I think I probably didn't get the other full point out. A lot should be riding on how Kirk does, considering that Kyle Amon is right up there towards the top of the running order. If he is that 12th driver in, and we do have an upset winner, he's gone. He's out. He's bumped out of the playoffs. So, yeah, again, I draw some comparisons to the NASCAR Cup Series and their regular season finale at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, where it was Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick trying to be the last driver in case there was a sort of upset winner, which of course never came there at Daytona, because when the chaos is going to be interesting, that's when it doesn't happen. When the chaos would be unnecessary, that's when it happens. That's usually how it works in the world of NASCAR. But that situation kind of similar to what we have here tonight, Gateway.
Yeah, I suppose so. And you know, we've unfortunately seen Mark Paget retire from this one, and that's a real shame, because I think he had a good car tonight and could have caused an upset. But now you look down the list, and it's really Amon who is probably the best candidate for an upset win tonight over the course of the next 87 laps as we get on with the final stage.
Yeah, and here we go, the final stage, 88 laps of racing action that lie ahead. It's a lot of drama, a lot of racing, and a lot of chaos expected as we're back to racing here. Jumping right away as Charles Velasquez Jr. up to the high side. I think he swapped lanes right as we got to the line, so that won't be a penalty for him. He's now right behind Bryson Hixenball. What have I been saying all throughout this race? Keep an eye on Charles Velasquez Jr. Quick on those flat ovals. There he is right now in P2. He's going to get a bump there. Assistance down the backstretch from Hunter Truex, and he's now going to look down the inside off into 3 and 4 on Hixenball, who runs very wide. And look at Truex trying to split the difference, go 3 wide out of 4. That's going to be gutsy. So close to contact. Up on the wall goes Hixenball.
What great racing, though, and Hunter Truex straight through the middle. Looks like he's going to take this lead now. Hixenball dives deep into 1, though. Pretty high, really, but you can get away with it a little bit. 2 degrees steeper, 1 and 2. Oh, he tries to edge him into the wall, and look at that. Hixenball just scrapes the wall, maybe, off of 2. As Hunter Truex tries to just feed him out there. Here comes Velasquez again. He's going to hang back and watch this battle for the lead. Oh, he's missed the line, Hixenball. He's gone way too deep there. He's gone way too high, and he's going to lose the lead to Hunter Truex.
Oh, and that was a big mistake from Hixenball. Very lucky the fact he's still in P2. Frankly, if that safer barrier wasn't there and he carried a couple more miles an hour off in there, he would have ended up in the parking lot. That was a huge moment from Hixenball down to the turn. He holds on to P2, but at that gap, ballooning out between himself and Hunter Truex. All these racers looking to duke it out. Looking at this battle for some racers holding on to their final playoff spots. It's Kirk Mills and Eric Wineland. Wineland enter this race top of those racers. Not yet locked in, but still above that cutoff line on points. He's now running in 10th. Kirk Mills in P9. Jim Schufield, one of the other drivers, and one of the final 3 that were above that cut line but not locked in just yet, is currently running right behind Kyle Amon. Not in, but still in that playoff discussion, slotted right in front. So we got some good battling to talk about at the start of this final stage. And one more thing to raise here, Yoon. Haven't talked about it a lot. Track evolution. This track is far different than what it was a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, well, it's an hour later in the day. It's coming up to 7:30 now in Sim, by the way. There you go, 7:28. And that's a more complicated graph than I can quite decipher. But anyway, so what I can tell you is, because I can see it, the sun's going down. There's quite a nice sunset a few moments ago, though it was quite a quick one, because it's getting into September now. And so this track temperature is going to continue to come down. 76 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. That's 24 degrees in unit, I understand. And yeah, it's only going to get cooler from there.
See, usually I'd say, oh man, I'm outnumbered being the only American on this show, but I feel like the fact that we're doing this with an American company means that I am in the majority here. So I'm gonna take the high ground when it comes to that. That was the saddest self high five that I've ever performed on myself and in my life. As we look at the 88, that was Brandon Mayfield trying to get a little bit experimental on the high side. Now the 95 and the 37 looking to duke it out. all of these drivers giving us no point to breathe at all in this race, whether it be the drama in stage 2, the drama thus far here in the final stage, or even the contact being made. That's a 37, the 95, and the 91 getting involved in that drama. The 37 got to scrape up against the wall, and that's going to be a yellow.
Kevin Zosiak, sorry, not for the first time tonight, getting into trouble, but this one wasn't his fault at all. Just got ran over there by 95. Now into 1 and 3 and 4. That's pretty rude, really. I mean, I do get that, the nose was alongside, and 37 did leave that gap down the inside there, but still, Joey Beck, I think, probably put his nose into a place it probably shouldn't have been there.
And you can see the contact being made off into the turn, and then, that gap was always going to disappear. I can't necessarily say that is a rude maneuver, because I say this as a Philadelphia, and what's funny is one of my colleagues at a different broadcast company, I was doing a show with him one time, and he once described Philadelphia as being the only city in the world that could boo Santa Claus. So I can't judge when it comes to rudeness.
Boo Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah, we would absolutely do that. Let me actually, as we are under this yellow at this point of the race with 80 laps to go, I will share a good Philly story that for some reason has just been all over my YouTube homepage over recent, even though I was around when this took place. So there was this thing called the, I think it was the hitchhike bot. It was this like little robot that they made up in somewhere in Canada, and the goal was to get it from one side of the North American continent over to the other, just by people picking it up, driving it to a place, dropping it off, and just continuing that cycle on all the way from, I think it was going to start off in Boston and then run all the way through to, I think, like San Francisco or Los Angeles, California. And it was going along fantastic until it ended up in Philadelphia, where it got poached like an egg.
What do you mean? I don't really...
They destroyed the robot. Like there was nothing left behind. It was just I could best describe it as getting a Rubik's Cube and throwing it off the top story of a tall building.
Right. I mean, yeah, I can believe it. The reason why, what I was going to say, I obviously already knew you in Philadelphia because you told me, but the way you spelt out the word punt when somebody got shoved earlier on, you spelt it out by each letter, and people seem to do that. I'm not really sure why. I was watching the football yesterday, and I don't know why you spell your team out as if you need a spelling exam or something, but that happened quite a lot, and I don't understand why. It's only a 6-letter word.
No,
are we all practicing or something?
See, no, the reason why we do that is because their mayor messed up. Like, this was right about 9 months ago, the mayor of the city of Philadelphia spelled it ELGLES, Eagles. So, which is not Eagles, that's Elgcess, but that's not a here or there. But right now, we've got a restart to talk about here at Gateway. Hunter Trull and Bryson Exenball going to comprise of your front row hearing as well about Cody Bird. Yeah, Cody Bird was racing an Eagles scheme a couple of weeks ago, so there's a nice little bit of Friday Night Lights lore for you there, you. And as we're about to get this race up, rolling, and ready to rock, been a hectic last half of this race, and let's see how it goes here. Hunter Trull gets off to a flyer of a restart, no one being able to challenge him, as now Hicksonball getting a challenge from Velasquez Jr. on the high side.
Good restart again. Trull seems to be pretty good at those, to be honest, when he is restarting first. That's really tight for Hicksonball, by the way. Velasquez was very nearly alongside, but just edged him out completely. Hicksonball says that I'm keeping second place, thanks very much. Side by side between Ammon and Schofield, is that? Yeah, I think so. Oh, and we've got another caution down the back. This may well keep happening now in the second half of the race, because the guys are all packed up together. It's a tight track. We've already seen quite a lot of cautions tonight, and as the racing gets closer, it's only going to keep getting more frequent.
Oh, and that was a huge bit of contact into the outside wall. You could tell that car was ready for the scrap heap just based off how he was driving it on the inside line. That car about as canted out as he could possibly get, and Joey Beck in the number 95 machine. Let's see his perspective in this drama as they headed their way off in there. That right there was a punt of a lifetime there. I will spell it out, P-U-N-T there. I will say, though, and this is honest, with another moment from Joey Beck, I think some of the drivers, certainly the driver that he sent off into that spin, may try and go for a different word.
Yeah, might end with the same last three, though. I think it's, that I can forgive that one a little bit more, to be honest. The stack up there and the concertina effect is, it's pretty fierce on the way towards turn 3. Yes, maybe should be expecting it a little bit more since we're so early on in a run like that. But yeah, that was pretty slam dunk again there, unfortunately. As another wave around goes on there, by the way. I think that's Brandon Hastings. Did I say earlier on that he was never going to get back on the lead lap? But maybe he will. He's only 3 laps down now, so he's done over half of the laps down. He was 7 down earlier.
That's rather fascinating. The climb back from there. I think we kind of jinxed it a little bit earlier on when we were saying, man, this race is rather smooth, and there's basically no drivers 1 lap down. Now we've got a lot of racers multiple laps down because of incidents. It's gone to a different level, I think would probably be the other best way that we can describe it. But now coming up to the final 75 laps of not just this race, but the regular season for that matter here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. And as we are under this yellow wheel, let you know about the things coming up here on Maconi Entertainment, because we have got action pretty much it feels like every single day, every single week for sure. Coming up tomorrow, we have got the second race of the playoffs for the full-length Cup Challenge. That'll be at this exact same track, Gateway. Same could be said about the door-to-door sim racing league, going to be running their second race of the playoffs at Worldwide Technology Raceway Gateway in just about 48 hours time on Monday. You can see the action from the season finale for the FF1600's officials. Will be running at Donington on the national layouts for that, and then the Racers Elite Truck League going to be running at Richmond. They had a pretty darn good race at Stafford this past weekend. On the subject of Philadelphia hospitality, that was an all-Philly show, because it was me, our esteemed Maconi Entertainment colleagues as well, with Dylan Coyle and Christian Hill. So you can imagine the amount of Eagles references that went on throughout that broadcast, which was certainly an interesting spectacle in its own regard. But as you can see, we are packed up and pairing, ready to get this race restarted once again. Charles Velasquez Jr. nearly running onto the pit entry there. I'm still going to keep my eyes on that machine. He has been very good up to this point in the race, running smooth. I think probably the farthest down we've seen him up to this point in the night has probably been about P6, P7, if that at all. He's been running strong, so keep an eye on that number 64 car to maybe break through with his first victory since about March of this year. But here we go, that pace car back down pit lane, about to get that green flag at. Let's see if we can get another long green flag run rolling as we are back to racing here at Gateway.
And another good restart for Charles. I said it last time, but so strong at these when he is at the front. Benefield around the outside has just generally been ghosting his way up in the last couple of restarts, and he gets around the outside of Hixenbo into second as well.
As you can see, I thought there was going to be a little bit of contact, some argy-bargy action between the 64 of Charles Velasquez Jr. and the 63 of Bryson Hixenball. They still run single file, but we are back under yellow with an incident a little bit farther behind. And there's the number 20, the Cinderella story. I can hear the disappointment there, Ewan. And that car rather screwed up. That left front already completely stopped and broken off.
Yeah, that's that wheel might as well not be attached anymore, because it's not doing a lot. Yeah, I'm not supposed to have favourites, but I do like a driver who takes on a different strategy to the rest of the field. And, well, that unfortunately is the end of that interest, unfortunately. Everybody's taken 2 sets of tyres. The interest of McDowell was that only 1 set of tyres have been... Here we go. That's a very strange angle to be going in at. Yeah, only 1 tyre set had been taken from car 20 so far, and so I was really interested to see how that was going to be used, but that's another serve. 88 this time. McDowell tries to save it. Oh, and a smack there for 02, and some more pile in as well. Just so difficult. 88 is Michael Deitch, who brought out the first caution of the day. He's now brought out the latest as well.
Yeah, that is the oh, that right there. That's meant to screw with us. It was a real 88 of Michael Deach with the punt, not the fake 88, which is actually the number 30 right behind that right there. Same font, pretty much the exact same color. That right there is why iRacing commentators develop many mental health ailments.
It's not ideal. I actually hadn't noticed until that point, so I'm not sure whether that makes it better or worse. But this is Llewellyn's point of view. One of those drivers who piled in, unfortunately, to this incident. You know, you get a view here when we're riding on board. You know, especially when you're not expecting it to happen. Now you can start to see it, but you know, so late. The car bounces off the wall, back down the racetrack. Oh dear, and you get shoved in the back quite a few times as well. That's not much you can do from there.
Yeah, you know you're not having a good run all through turn number 3 and 4 at Gateway when you can see the track instead of the catch fence. Let's take a look at this and follow Llewellyn. Contact being made, the 91 following it soon. There's a 56 of Noah Woods pile driving into the back of that 07 car, picking the rear end up into the air probably by about 4 feet. That was a pretty huge hit off in there. So we are under yellow once again here on Maconi Entertainment for the regular season finale for the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. And status quo up at the front, at least for now, with Hunter Truex still leading.
Well, not status quo in terms of the restart format, though. It looks like we're doing a single file restart now because of the frequency of the cautions in the first 20 laps of this final stage. Race Control have decided a single file restart, and that might not be the worst idea to try and get some laps under our belt here. Otherwise, it could descend into a caution fest to the very end. Only 20 cars on the lead lap now, and a lot of retired, in fairness, so it might well thin out anyway, but this will make sure, hopefully, of a bit of a green flag run now, this single file restart.
Yeah, so we have seen this in the past. I remember the first ever FLC broadcast I did was of the FLCC Martinsville 400 a little bit earlier on this year, and we actually had some single file restarts throughout that race to kind of clean it up. And let's see if that will work here as we follow Barry the Flagman, the green flag in the air, waiting to wave it. There we go, putting in all that stride into that green flag wave, and we are back racing here at Gateway. Who's going to be able to jump at first? Who's going to try and go for a move? Look at that. That's Eric Weiland on the inside. The 06 to Matthew Boston Wheeler, and they touch down into the turn. Contact being made. The 86 got fired up. They stack up big time through the turn, and they are still wrecking, but we are still green here. They head their way down the backstretch. That's a car slow on the backstretch. If they stop, that may end up being a yellow, but no, we remain green for now. Hunter Truex leads over Adam Benefield, over Bryson Nixonball, over Charles Velasco Jr., over Jim Schofield. Look at Kyle Amon, though, in the 17 car, currently slotted in P6. If he can pull off a miracle, that would be the story to end all stories.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult job from here because we've got some very fast drivers up towards the front at the moment, and look at the breakaway they've had now, all the way at the front of the field. But yeah, that was a bit of a mess further down the field, to be honest. A driver just looking down the inside at turn number 1, and you know, it's a big wide open space on the inside at turn 1 there. It's, you know, perfectly legitimate to try and head your way down the inside, but shouldn't really be making contact on the very first corner of a single file restart.
Yeah, that right there was just too much aggression to these racers. I mean, we were expecting aggression, we were expecting fire, and we were expecting anger, and we have gotten that in more ways than one up to this point. We still have 68 laps through to the end of this race. We'll say, well, fantastic investigative journalism from our producer to figure out exactly how long the other green flag run, well, not the green flag run, the amount of time you can go down. I'm gonna say off on that point is Brandon Mayfield in that fake number 88 has just picked up a disqualification. So just wanted to, yeah.
Presume he's been DQ'd for having the same livery as somebody else with the same number. Did we organise that amongst ourselves?
Yeah. Give me a case of that double vision. Let's see this moment as he headed his way off in there in the winter Red Bull machine. I shouldn't have dropped this spot. They need to give us money before we say that. And let's see, as he had his way off through 1 and 2, maybe a bit of a tap into the wall, gonna put him over that limit. There's a contact, and there's a UFO abduction. So in rather quick succession there. I was just going to say, expecting to see 65 to 68 laps that these racers can run on a full tank of gas under green. Of course, throw yellows into the midst of that, and that really gets thrown out the window. But that right there shows you the challenge of this track. Small little scrape up through into the turn, and there we go. At least, for the love of God, we have only one 88 car out there on the track.
Yeah, that was my first reaction, to be honest. But there you go. Anyway, that's a minor thing, really. Trull is still leading the way just in front of Benefield. 65 to go, and you can see that the pressure is starting to be put on that 71 now. You get the feeling, if there's a really short run to the end, if we get green, white checker later or something like that, then Hunter Trull's going to have a very good car to contend with. But these longer runs, I don't think he's really much of a match for Benefield and Hicksonville, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it's all going to work out at the end of this. We have so much left to discuss. You know, in all the drama, the smoke, and the chaos in this final stage up to this point, we haven't really been able to talk about the evolution of the track, which is still going on. A bit of an orange haze far out to the west, but outside that, this track pretty much fully developed in darkness. You can see now the track temperatures and the ambient temperatures starting to drop down a little bit compared to what they were a little bit earlier on here tonight. 75 degrees Fahrenheit, though, still rather all right for a track temperature. That's pretty much a little bit farther towards the bottom end of what's overall still a sweet spot, where the track is just cool enough whereby you won't worry about overheating your tires, but it's also not too cool whereby you're going to have to worry about them turning into giant black icicles.
It's not something too much to worry about, thankfully, with the sun now gone. And the lights very much on here from Gateway. Still not even across the 100 lap mark, by the way. Started lap 99 now, as we're in the final run of the final stage of the race. They've got a long way to go because of the cautions that we've had to start this new stage. That's why I do disagree with throwing the caution after the stage, because it does sort of create things like what we've already seen in this stage. We've had to take to a single file restart to sort of get this going again, and that's all caused, in my mind, by the cautions that are thrown throughout the stages.
And I gotta say, I'm with you there in terms of throwing the yellows at the end of the stages. I've never been too big of a fan of that ever since NASCAR brought stage racing into the fold back in 2017. They tried it on the road courses and actually produced some natural racing where some storylines would develop. There were some comers and goers, and as a result of that, it was too natural for NASCAR's own liking, and they swapped away.
It's a shame, isn't it, really? Because you get such the fuel mileage races that you used to get. I remember race 2016 Pocono, might have been the second race, that was a fuel mileage race. You never see those anymore, really, because of the amount of cautions that we have. So yeah, I don't mind stage racing, especially on the really long races. You do need something to keep you interested, I suppose, but throwing the caution every time is not great. That's side-by-side contact. That's the 06 again, by the way. It's been involved right from the very start of this latest green flag run, and here you go.
Oh, God, boys, what are you doing? Just, you're battling right now for a spot outside the top 10. You don't need to battle as if it's a battle for the championship. Holy cow, they nearly made contact again, coming out of turn number 4. I'm going to keep tabs on this battle just for the simple sake that these two have been... they've been scrapping it out, I think, is the polite way to put it. The number 78 right behind. Oh, was that just an alien abduction, or did we potentially just see? Yeah, okay, that was a quick little alien abduction there. Nothing too major. I was just gonna say I thought someone just got sucked up into a UFO, but no, they were both back out there on the racetrack still. I was just gonna say, I mean, it's I'm going to hold off on that point. That I was just going to say.
you can't lead us up a garden path like that.
I'm gonna. Oh, as here we go, side by side racing at the front. Maybe gonna flare up with Hunter Truel and Adam Banfield may save me out of a combo that may result in me getting my shins kicked in. But Hunter Truel and Adam Benefiel now battling for that lead. They were briefly side by side as they headed their way off into turn number 3 and 4. Look at Bryson Ixenball, though, right in vogue as well. These three breaking away from Charles Velasquez Jr., so perfect commentator Shanks from me saying that that number 64 car is a shot to win, which I still think is true, but if he has any more wall scrapes as he has his way down the back straightaway, I think that may become less and less true as we go a little bit farther along through this race. But Hunter Truel now really feeling the pressure from Benefiel.
That's not a great run for Benefiel off of turn 4, and Hixenburg now is in the fray, but Hixenburg doesn't, at least not on the evidence of this race so far, doesn't seem to dive straight in and try and lead all of the laps of a stage or indeed a race. Just sits back and waits for the moment to strike later on, saving tyres and just saving himself for a little bit later on, and it just seemed to be a good call. You just see just sat behind Benefiel at the moment, looking threatening, but actually if you look at the evidence of this race so far, actually isn't very much in the way of threatening to that position and towards turn number 1. And yeah, Hixenburg is just going to wait and wait here behind Benefiel. I don't think he's going to make a move until the last laps of this race, really like what we've seen in the stages.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait a little bit for these racers to really throw caution to the wind and try and get some moves done. For now, though, we jump back to this battle of the 06 and Matthew Boston Wheeler right behind the car of Michael Deach in the true 88 machine right in front, and Connery Cunningham right behind, albeit he's multiple laps in after some drama a little bit earlier on in this race. The 06 and Wheeler, I thought, was going to wheel it down the inside of the number 88 as they headed their way off down into turn number 3. Not able to get that move done. That would have been rather gutsy and brave if he went for it, but that's just that's not really a sort of move that he can pull off with great success. If you can get it done, chances are it's probably going to come at the expense of the feelings and the car that you try and overtake.
These front three are closer than ever, aren't they? This is Benefiel responding with that moment a few laps ago where he got a little bit loose off of 4, and now he's behind Hunter Truel trying to get past again. He's looking the low side off of 2, and this is a good run. Benefiel now with his best chance yet in this final stage to really take the lead by the looks of this.
Ooh, as you can see him getting oh so close. A matter of feet separating the back bumper of the 71 of Truel and the front bumper of the 83 of Benefiel. Getting close, getting dicey, about a tenth of a second. Separate the two of them, closing up a little bit. Will he go for the move off into turn number 1 and 2? No, he backs out. He thinks better of it. Still feeling the pressure from Bryson Ixenball right behind, and that could potentially force the 83 of Adam Benefield's hands. You can see him dancing around the track as that was Truel dancing up a little bit too high. I think Benefiel had the short end of the stick though there. He may have hit the wall coming out of that turn because he lost out on a not a whole lot of time, but it was a decent amount of time that he did lose as they had their way down the backstretch off into 3 and 4. Now coming out of 4, Benefiel gonna look to try and get this move done sooner rather than later. It's a convergence of all these racers, as even Charles Velasquez Jr., who we discounted not terribly long ago, he is right there to strike.
Absolutely. The front 4, I think, are starting to show themselves as really a class above the rest. Obviously, we had a few more earlier on, but they've all since crashed out and are out of the picture. Really left to these 4 to fight it out for the win. And Benefiel's getting so close now to Truel that Truel needs to get past or back away now. He's looking down the inside, almost with an overlap through 3 and 4, and now he's got slightly loose. He's pushing. You can see the way that rear end is just hanging out there. Now he looks to the inside into 1.
Ooh, as he thought better of it, he backs out of it on entry, but the 71 forced up into the marbles and into the rough stuff. He's now going to be on the high side with the 83 of Benefiel closing up. Wall contact being made as they head their way out of turn number 1 and 2, down the backstretch into 3 and 4. Look at the 83 clearing him big time, and now here comes a dive from Ixenball off into turn number 1. Was just going to say Benefiel crowding him up to the high side. Did he do to the 71 of Hunter Truel? Now Truel starting to feel the burn. The 83 63 holding on onto the race lead. The 63 now on the inside of the 71, and look at Charles Velasquez Jr. Gonna look to try and get a move done, maybe even around the outside through turn number 1 and 2. That would be gutsy if he could try and make that work, but that's an uphill battle for sure. Benefield now gonna look to try and do what he wanted to do a little bit earlier on in this race and pull that gap to himself and Hicksonball. Want to touch on this though as well, Ewan. Not too terribly far away from the pit stops coming up here.
No, may not be if it stays green and we get green flag pit stops. I personally think they might wait a little bit actually after that 45, but maybe I'm going to be wrong on that. I think that though shows what Hicksonball is sort of fearing more, or who he's fearing more actually. Hutner not particularly, unless it's going to be a late race restart, in which case there's not much time for thinking. It's much more time for just going. And, you know, it's Adam Benefield on a longer run. He felt the need there to go straight past Trull as quickly as possible to try and stay with Adam Benefield in the lead of this race. And, you know, you cannot blame him, but I think that was very, very telling there that Hicksonball has been patient so far, but it wasn't there because he feels the need to stay near Benefield.
Oh, and Hicksonball had a big sideways snap as he headed his way through turn number 4. You can tell that was a close quarters moment based off the fact I slipped into untimely yodeling. Hicksonball now trying to reel back in Benefield. That gap ballooning out to 0.4 of a second once again. Hunter Trull and Charles Velasquez Jr. and all that stacking up may start to battle for the final podium spot. Look at Velasquez Jr. in that 64 car trying to fish and find any way in the book to get past the 71. Hasn't been able to make something work on the inside though. He's always looked on the high side, which I think is a rather interesting call in its own right. But here we go. Will it be a dive into the turn from the 64? And will he goes for it. That's going to be some gutsy stuff, and he gets that move done. That could have ended in disaster, but it ends in P3 now for Charles Velasquez Jr.
Yeah, very good pass, quite deep into turn 1, and this is the move again. Oh, just had to readjust the line as well on the way in. I think he was expecting Trull to enter a little bit higher than he actually ended up doing, and just adjusted his line at the right moment there to get low enough and get up into third. As this run goes on, he's getting stronger as well as we approach the halfway mark of this final stage.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of it. Time is running out for these racers. I say time's running out. We still got 45 laps left to go. We have these pit stops to worry about. We touched on that not too long ago. Expecting about 63 to 68, 65 to 68 laps, I should say, being the run that these racers could make under green. But again, lots of yellows in this final stage already. So these racers may be able to stretch it all the way through to probably the final 15 laps in this race. Yeah. I think they can probably stretch it out a decently long way considering how long they're running under yellow.
Yeah, I would say so. Certainly inside the last 20, I would say they can probably manage. But, you know, whether they're going to or not is a completely different question because the tyres now have fallen off by over a second compared to what they are at their very peak. So as soon as one of these four come in, I think, you know, the other three will follow very, very quickly. And one of these four coming in, I think, is going to be triggered, unless one of them wants to be brave for once in this race and go before the others behind. Then, you know, it's going to take one of them in the next group to sort of trigger it almost. Maybe one of the next four, because there's some big gaps. I mean, Eric Wineland in ninth is over 16 seconds behind the lead. There's some very large gaps now out in the field.
Yeah, the field has spread out a teeny tiny bit. We still got these small little clicks and battles. That was, here's the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler running right behind the number 88 of Michael Deitch. That's a battle for the final spot inside the top 10. A little bit farther up the road, there was a squabble involving Eric Wineland and a lapped car. That's not actually for position. However, Wineland looking to minimize the damage after, I don't even think he set a qualifying time. So that was part of the reason why I started all the way towards the back. But running right now, last of the cars above that playoff cutoff line, but he entered this race the first car above that playoff cutoff line. So I think that kind of equals that in an odd way. I don't think that's going to be too bad for him. I believe at this point, with how things have worked out with stages and the sorts, I think Kirk Mills would be the 12th driver at the moment. So if we do have a first-time winner here tonight, he would be the one that I would assume would get the bump. As let's take a look at the caution, or near caution that we had right on this restart. That was kind of what started off the breaking up of the field here, Ewan.
Yeah, this is somewhat surprising actually. They didn't bring out a caution, but Matthew Boston Wheeler got dived in towards turn one. When you're the car on the inside there, you can't really, you've got to give space to the driver on the inside. And actually, in the end, it caused almighty stack up. I think most of these drivers actually back here sort of assumed it would be a caution, and they were just waiting for it to come out. And at some point, as they were coming down the back straight or getting onto the back straight, they saw no caution and thought, well, I'll carry on then, I suppose. And then nearly another one into 3 and 4 as it was all continuing to kick off back there. It's part of the story as to what's broken up the field here. You've got to remember a lot of these guys are already a lap down and are sort of running around at the back end of the field. We've got even Charles Eaton, who's 30 laps down, still running. So there's a lot of stragglers a little bit further back. But I'm very surprised none of this was ended in a caution.
And you can see the number 95 cutting his way through the field like a hot knife through butter as a result of that incident. Ka-chow to him as not a ka-chow moment for Noah Woods. He's picked up a disqualification, and let's see what happens to the number 56 car off wide into 3 and 4. Probably going to impact the wall coming out of here, and in the midst of all that, he's got to pick up those final incident points. There's the wall tap. There's the alien abduction. Hit 88 miles an hour. He's now back in the Neolithic era. Unfortunate stuff for him, but it's part of a larger problem, I think, though, Ewan. We may have to worry about those DQs.
I think for those at the back it might be a problem. To be honest with you, I don't think it would be a problem for these guys really. Guys who are going to win this race, I'm presuming in that sentence that it's going to be one of those four at the front. I just don't think it would be a problem for them. If you've been down the back of the field, yes, and you've been involved in plenty of incidents today. As I mentioned, Charles Eaton's still running 30 laps down at the moment. Justin Hall 12 laps down, still going. So there's plenty of drivers who probably are quite close, but in terms of affecting the overall picture of this race, I can't see it being a massive factor, really.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it isn't part of a greater thing and that it really starts to play with these races. I think if there's anybody who's going to get caught out by it, frankly, it's going to be the racers who are already running a little bit farther on the back foot as a result of some incidents earlier on in this event. So it's tough, but that's sort of what you've got here. It's a short track, short tempers, insert simile here. Adam Benefield holds on to the race lead still. Now about 8.5 tenths of a second to get to himself and Bryson Hixenball. So looks like things have gone really stretched out up at the front as even the battle between Hixenball, Velasquez Jr. and Hunter Truex. There's Benefield making that call to come down pit lane firmly in the pit window to make it to the end, even with green-white checkered attempts. But Benefield making the first green flag pit stop of most of these drivers. Oh, that was close.
Whoa, he broke really late for the first bit. Very nearly clipped the grass and would have gone straight on. But that was close as he broke
God
there.
bless America, I think he made it.
He's been practicing that clearly because that was braver than I would have been on the way into pit lane, that's for sure. Have a look at this. I mean, he's skating the grass. He's maximising it. He's scraping the wall so nearly. He locks it up. Locks it down. He knows that those tyres aren't required again, and it's just as well because he's ruined them coming into pit lane there. What an entry that is as he does 4 tyres. He leaves the pit lane, and great initiative, by the way, as well. 35 laps to go. He was the leader. When you're the leader in that situation, you can very easily just sort of wait for the others behind and sort of wait for the race to come to you almost, but he's decided he's going to take the initiative here and he's going to come in first. That's exactly what he's done, and he's seen a response now as well on this latest lap. Matthew Boston Wheeler's into pit lane, but from the front we've also seen Hunter Truex into the pit lane as well. Yeah, there's been a response from those leaders.
And, there is no mincing words around this. That took some stones. That actually, no, not even stones. That took balls to go into that pit entry the way that he did. That was 10 tenths all the way at the limit. Well done for Benefield if he can walk away from this race with his 5th win of the season and try and end off this regular season, get the playoffs up and rolling on a very high note. That would be the way to do it. I mean, look at him. You can just barely see him in the back of shot as we follow your front two of Bryson Hixenball and Charles Velasquez Jr. staying out for one more lap. Oh, that's a spinner right in the inside. Oh, is Hixenball the huge sideways snap there? The car who spun off the inside, I think that may Not entirely sure who that was. We'll touch back on that in a couple of moments, but they have rejoined the race. Edward Scherer Jr. was not that car. He's come down pit lane. That right there, that right there, that was a 37 of Kevin Zosiak with that moment.
It's quite a good save, actually. Not, oh dear, just nearly ended up in pit lane. I think this is actually an outlap, isn't it? The way that car was pointing itself out of the on the back stretch there. Oh, loose on the entry. Big slide, still saving it. And now, oh, hello. Yeah, that was all over the place, that, wasn't it? And in the end, just about avoids going down pit lane for a second lap in a row. But, yeah, we stay green. Another moment where we get away with it.
And, you know, more racers had a terrifying view of it all, as Hicksonball had a terrifying view of all this with that car sideways, slideways right in front, and you can see him sawing at the wheel to try and keep that car going in a straight line out of the turn. But in the live action, we have had this green flag run get broken up. The yellow is out with 31 laps left to go in the regular season finale tonight at Gateway. This is big, right in the midst of a pit cycle, and I think we're going to try and figure out exactly what the deal is that has brought at this yellow. That is a big moment for sure. And I mean, that really turns it on its head. We're expecting it to maybe be green all the way through to the fall of the checkered flag. With that long green flag run, we're probably going to get back to double filed restarts. This is going to be a very dramatic end to this race, as if we weren't already going to get one.
Yeah, it's going to be, I suspect, not the last caution of the day either, if I'm honest with you. But let's wait and see on that. This is an exit from the pit lane from someone just in front of 88. It goes for the spin, and that's not the first time, unfortunately, that a solo spin for Michael Ditch has caused the yellow. Only 4 cars on the lead lap then, and Benefiel and Velasquez are the other two compared to the two out front who still have yet to pit, and they are going to drop to the back of this lead lap now and bring a lot more drivers back onto the lead lap, like Hunter Trull, who will be back again as Ammon and Hickson come into the pit lane. They're still racing around here. They do need to get a move on, as a lot of these guys are going to get the wave around under this caution.
Yes, a lot of people going to get a lifeline given to them here in this race, as there is the number 83 of Adam Benefiel going to retake the race lead. As a result of all this, Charles Velasquez Jr. going to be slotted in second. We'll have to see how Hicksonball and everybody else works out in their respective calls to come down pit lane. Kyle Amon in that number 17 car. That's a storyline to keep tabs on. As we were expecting throughout this race, drama going on with some drivers above that playoff cutoff line, drama going on with some racers below it. Kyle Amon, it's been a pretty all-right race for him. We saw in the early stages how Mark Padgett, who entered this race, the last driver the first driver out of the playoffs, I should say, had a good shot to win, and it was a messy incident at the start of stage 2 that took him out of contention to get himself into the playoffs here in 2025. Kyle Amon has a pretty good shot. He's got to be restarting this race on that second row with some very slightly but still fresher tires than both Adam Benefiel and Charles Velasquez Jr.
Slightly. It's not too much of a difference, but may make the difference in the final 30 laps. Just waiting to see how many are going to get back on the lead lap. We're still going to have 11 on the lead lap, aren't we? So Scherer, Schofield, Mills, Wineland, Matthew Boston Wheeler, Tim Phillips are all going to get onto the lead lap, and there they go, racing around at what looks like a racing speed. They get back onto the lead lap again. So it's probably trapped a few more laps down than what you'd see before. Tanner Martini, who's in a must-win situation, is a lap down now as well, which is not ideal for him. But yeah, we've still got 11 on the lead lap at least, and still plenty in contention for this race potentially. As no, we're going to stay with a single file restarts.
I can totally understand that, yet I also would totally understand if we went back to the double file restarts. But here we go. You can see the field packed up. We're going to have some cars rejoining this pack at a whole head of speed. Look at them heading their way onto the back straightaway. they're both going to have a massive run, and they're going to have much hotter tires. So look at those racers to maybe cut their way through. Knowing my luck, I'm probably gonna jinx it, and one of them just gonna pile in and create a huge stack up as they come to take the restart here. Gonna be 27 laps left to go here tonight at Gateway. And it'll be Adam Benefield, Charles Velasquez Jr., and Bryson Ixtenball completing your top three. As here we go back to green. That's the field catching up right behind. That's the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler having a dive at to avoid contact with himself in the 87. Those two ended in disaster on the previous restart, keeping their fingers crossed it won't end in the same way. Side by side with Hixenball, Kyle Amon. That's a close quarters battle as here we go. Velasquez Jr. looking down the inside of Adam Benefield, down into turn number 3 and 4. The 64 and the 83, the two Team Conti teammates squabbling up as they head their way off through turns number 3 and 4.
Wasn't the greatest line on the way into turn 3, but he's through, is Charles Velasquez. And what a great drive and job so far from him. Benefield then in second. Hixenball now up to third, and he's going to be really threatening for these guys. I know he's got a few lap fresher tyres, but that's not going to it's going to make the difference here in my mind. It's going to be about his ambition to try and get through here, and of course he'll have great ambition as he gets to the back of these guys. 26 to go. He's been waiting for the end of the race to really start to go, and now he is starting to really flex his muscles. 25 to go as they go over the line, and he's in a good position here.
Yeah, and Bryson Hixenball being able to shake off the challenge from the number 17 of Kyle Amon like a bad case of the fleas. Now a second, even more than that, separating those two racers at the start of this lap. Charles Velasquez Jr. sang in a cooker of a lap time last time by. I've said this a lot throughout tonight and will continue to say it. He's a driver that I've had on my radar for very good reasons, as here comes Hixenball down the inside of Benefield, and he's going to book his way through into that spot. Benefield, much older tires compared to those around him at the present moment. But Hixenball with a pretty big wall tap out of 4.
Now that was a wall smack really with the outside wall there out of turn 4, but he just about saved it. Didn't turn into anything too bad because Benefield didn't come back through again. I wonder whether Benefield just restrained himself a little bit there, because he knows that there's still a relatively long way to go in this race, and that biding your time for the moment is probably the better idea rather than battling away and letting Velasquez get further out in front.
And you know what I was going to say a little bit earlier on in talking about some of these racers up at the front, touching on the points discussion, which is still certainly in the back of our heads as we are in the final stage. Kyle Amon not able to get involved in this battle with these racers. He's running effectively in no man's land in P4, essentially a border between your podium and some of the lesser spots inside the top 5 and top 10. It's still a good run for him, but it's not enough for him to get into the playoffs where he needs a victory in order to do that. It's music to the ears of the likes of Jim Shoefield, Kirk Mills, and Eric Wineland, who are all running nose to tail in P7 through to P number 9, with some gaps separating them out at the present moment. But that is good news to those racers, and not very good news to the likes of Kyle Amon, Tim Phillips, and Tanner Marty, who are all in spots where they basically need to win in order to have a hope of making it into the playoffs. But we'll just have to see. It's been a very hectic second and final stage of this race, and we still have 22 laps left to go in a close battle up at the front. The 64 and the 63. It's Velasquez Jr. and Bryson Hixenball running right nose to tail. Close quarter stuff between these racers, and they've been able to pull away from Adam Benefield. Now I gotta wonder whether Hixenball is going to bounce here soon.
Well, I thought he would maybe wait a little bit longer, but oh, he goes into the side of him! Oh my word, that was close. Velasquez there didn't get tipped around completely, but that could have been a lot worse. Hixenball knows that he's got the fresher tyres slightly, and so he's not going to wait around like he has been in the first couple of stages to try and come through at the very end. He's just going to try and strike while he can.
Yeah, strike while the iron is hot. Hopefully metaphorically. I feel like literally that'd probably bring out another yellow. And it nearly did, as those racers made contact not too long ago. These racers, I think, just trying to give us a panic attack at the present moment. Can't necessarily blame them. Kyle Amon and Hunter Truell, they're involved in their own little scrap for P4. I said that Kyle Amon was running all by his lonesome. You can scrap that. You can take what I said, throw it into a shredder, and throw that shredder at the window directly into a wood chipper. It's now Amon and Truell battling for the final 2 spots inside of the top 5, and Edward Scherer Jr. A little bit farther behind to try and close up that gap and get involved in this scrap. As here we go, Truel down the inside of Eamon, off into turn number 1 and 2. They're gonna go. Kyle Eamon trying to sweep around the outside, keep the momentum rolling and hold on to that spot, and he will be able to do that for now. But as that's been going on, the gap up at the front between Velasquez Jr. and Bryson Ixtabal has closed up again, once again, about a tenth between these two.
Oh, there's Truel through on the inside line on Kyle Eamon. Truel really did not benefit at all from that latest caution, by the way. He was running okay before, but that latest caution has put him a bit further down than where he would otherwise be, and he now moves up to 4th place at least, but it's a little consolation. Side by side between Sher and Jim Schofield in 6th place. Schofield is still not quite up enough places compared to Kirk Mills to get up into 11th as far as I can see. If things stay as they are, though, that won't matter, and they'll both go through on points.
Oh, Jackson, this is close, this is tense, this is hair-raising, and very, very close to disaster between Jim Schofield and the number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. These racers looking to try and get every single voice crack and spike out of me that they possibly can, as they're still duking it out off into turn number 1 and 2. Look at that on the high side, the number 10 on the outside of the 47, and right there to pounce as well, our Maconi Entertainment colleague, and one of those racers battling for the final playoff spot is Kirk Mills. He goes for the dive on Schofield off into the turn. These two were in the worst for the wear position when it came to drivers above that playoff cutoff line. Eric Wineland well farther in front when it came to points entering this race. Schofield and Mills, on the other hand, they've been scrappy. They've been duking it out, and there's still skin in the game for these two trying to battle out for the points again. If we do have a first-time winner who will upset that playoff graph, they'll be one of these two who probably gets shown the door on the playoffs the first. As I said a little bit earlier on, I think Kirk Mills is in that less envious position when it comes to the points. I think he's slotted P12 at the moment based off how the stages and everything worked out and how the situation was entering off into this round of the championship. But as we still think about those playoffs and the possibility of an upset, right now it doesn't look like we will have one, as Bryson Ixtabal and Charles Velasquez Jr. running in P1 and P2. The duo combined for 8 race wins up to this point in the season. For Hicksonball, he at this point is on a 1.5 month long losing streak as he wants to try and snap it here in the final race of the regular season. He's on the inside of the 64 of Junior. Who's going to win out in this battle? They go side by side down the start finish straightaway. Charles Velasquez Jr. looking to keep the momentum rolling, but there's only so much he can do with Hicksonball holding on to that ideal inside line. Who's going to win at? Who's going to clear who? Who will hold on to it? And that was, again, close to contact as they head their way on the backstretch once again.
And Velasquez has let this get out of hand now with Hicksonball on the inside line. He just got a little bit loose through 3 and 4 last lap. If he can do it a bit better this time, he can maybe... Oh, no, he's done it again. He just sit on the outside there, just doesn't get the good enough run off of 4. He's not quite got that slightly higher line through 3 and 4 quite down yet. And Hicksonball continues to battle and really challenge him here. Inside line in 63. And Velasquez is putting up a good fight, but finding this difficult at the moment.
Yeah, neither of these racers are making it easy for one another. Fantastic to see, but Hicksonball may be a little bit frustrating. You can see the red mist starting to build up, and that as he nearly slides up the track midway through turns number 1 and 2. This is tense. It has been tense for quite some time. And with the lap slowly but surely running down now, 12 to go at the line. Velasquez Jr. looking to snap an even longer winless streak compared to Hicksonball. He hasn't won a race since Phoenix, all the way back at the start of this championship. He wants to change that here at Gateway as he still stays locked on the outside of Hicksonball. As much as Hicksonball has that ideal spot on the inside line, he's just been able to utilize that momentum onto the straightaways and hold on to the spot. I also think that number 63 of Hicksonball maybe starting to dance around on him a little bit is that machine, as all through these corners it looks like he has a good entry, but midway through the corner gets a little bit loose, and then we see that 64 fight back.
I think this is exactly the reason why we've seen Hicksonball so far in this race decide to just hang back and wait a little bit later to see when he can make the move. Now, finally, Velasquez is going to be clear, as Hicksonball really had to give him some space there, and in doing so, really halted his own run. But, you know, Hicksonball waited so many times in these stages, stage 1 and 2 so far. But, that's exactly why. He didn't want to get dragged into a long side-by-side battle that lets others catch up behind. And thankfully, they've not been punished for it on this occasion. He's still got 10 laps to make this overtake, but this is probably one of the harder overtakes he's found all race long so far.
Yeah, this has been not straightforward at all for Bryson Ixenball. At this point, he's slipped back in tow, running comfortably in P2. There's two ways he can go about this. He can either say, you know what, I got 7 wins, I don't need to push this issue too much. Or he could say, you know what, I'm already locked in, I already have 7 wins, may as well just throw caution to the wind and try and get an 8th. There are both ends to this coin that I can fully understand for both of these racers. Think of it this way, in reference to the winless streak that Charles Velasquez Jr. is in at the present moment. One and only win came at Phoenix back for round number 4 of the season, which in 2 days' time will have been 6 months ago. Charles Velasquez Jr. looking to snap a very long winless streak here tonight as he's going to take 8 laps left to go. Now that 64 machine still holding on to that lead, both slightly less sheet metal on the side of his car.
Well, he basically just followed each other there, straight off the circuit, and Ixenball now gets to the low side again. Oh, close! Loose as well for Velasquez. This is getting tight now. 7 to go and they get to the line. This is getting really dicey now, and this is the end of the race coming up here. This is the battle for the win, and the conclusion to this one is going to be an enthralling one between these two, and maybe Adam Benefiel, who's catching them as well.
Yeah, if these two start to battle it out too hard, keep an eye on that number 83 machine. He will reel in these racers, catch up to them, just buzz by him like an X-Ascent missile. So keep an eye on that number 83 machine. It's a mixed sword. It's a mixed bag, a double-edged sword. I tried to merge the two together there for Team Conti. You got Charles Velasquez Jr. running in P1. This would only be his 2nd win of the season. Brandon Benefiel, though, who's really been the only challenger to Bryson Ixenball regularly here in the regular season. It would be good to end off this regular season with another win, his 5th of the season, if Benefiel can get the job done. There's a lot of different permutations, a lot of different stuff that's running through the minds of all of these racers as we're now within the final 6 laps of this race.
It's going to be an absolutely fascinating finish, and traffic seems to be just getting towards them again as well. Actually, I think there is a car just in front. It's not going to be too much of a factor, and you'd hope they just pull out the way here, because this is going to be a great end to this race, and you don't want to see it settled with lap traffic, but that's part of the game. Getting through lap traffic is part of the racing. Velasquez has really defended very well so far, but he's got 5 more laps to do it.
Yeah, 5 more laps of racing action here at Gateway. Make that 4.5 as they head their way down the back straightaway. Some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road. Velasquez Jr. going to have to ship it off. If he gets checked up a little bit, which I think he will by the 19 car, this may be the shot that the 63 of Ixenball is going to take. That's Alex Princeton behind the wheel of that car, really choking him up. That right there was a cork in the bottle. Something's going to pop, and who's going to try and get this done? Velasquez Jr. still holds on to it. I thought we were going to see Ixenball go off for the dive. I think he wanted to get that 16 car out of the picture. I think the 16 may have been able to do a little bit more to get out of harm's way, but still, close quarter stuff at the end of this race. He's got his own race. These drivers have their own race, and now as they head their way off into 3 and 4, it's 4 laps left to go, coming at 3 this time by.
Maybe he feels, Ixenball, that going to the inside like before is just not work for him, so he didn't want to do it that time either by making it 3 wide. But I think he should have gone for that there. He might not get a better chance in these last 3 laps than the one that he just passed up there.
Yeah, at this point, he doesn't have a lot of opportunities left. 3 laps left of racing action here at Gateway. Charles Velasquez Jr. looking to snap a 5-month winless streak. Ixenball only looking to win yet again after about 5 races since his last. So many different agendas in the minds of both these racers. One looking for their 8th win of the championship, the other looking for their 2nd, as it's now 2 laps left to go here at Gateway. 2.5 miles remain for Charles Velasquez Jr. Last time he won was at Phoenix. Another flat, low-banked, weirdly shaped oval. Wants to try and hit these playoffs, hit the ground running, but he has got to run away from the 63 of Ixtenball, who is all over the back of him as they headed their way off through turns number 1 and 2 just a few moments ago. He goes for the dive. He looks down the inside. The 64 a little bit wiggly, and down the inside he's going to go. Contact being made. Velasquez trying to hold off that challenge from Ixtenball, but Ixtenball right there, the white flag in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Gateway, and it's Charles Velasquez Jr. leading just barely over Bryson Ixtenball. He switches it up this time. He goes for the outside, but that's not going to work unless he can diamond off the turn and get the run of a lifetime down the back straightaway. This may be Velasquez's for the taking. Ixtenball closing up that gap now, a 10th and a half, now about a 10th. He goes for the dive into 3 and 4. The 63 and the 64 duking it out for the win here at Gateway. Velasquez holds on to that outside line. He holds on to the run, and with a sideways snap from Ixtenball, Charles Velasquez Jr. going to return to victory lane here at Gateway.
He becomes the 6th different winner in the last 6 races, by the way, and on these flat, strangely shaped ovals, he does seem to be the driver to beat. Velasquez didn't lead too many laps of that race, but he led the most important 20-odd laps at the end. He gets congratulations from Adam Benefiel as well, who would have liked those two to battle a little bit more so that he could get involved. But in the end, Ixtenball passed up his best opportunity. We so often hear about the passing driver using the lap cars as a pick. In the end, he actually passed up the chance to do exactly that. It turned out to be his best chance of the race, and he could never pass Velasquez after that.
You know, it's still not a bad night at all for Bryson Ixtenball, but I think there may be a little voice in the back of his head thinking what could have been. But for Charles Velasquez Jr. is a long-awaited return to victory lane after getting that W and locking himself into the playoffs at Phoenix all the way back on March the 7th. He had to wait through the rest of March, all of April, all of May, all of June, all of July, and all of August. And here to kick off the month of September to bring this regular season to a close here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series, Charles Velasquez Jr. in that number 64 car, gonna grab the win. He burns it down on that start-finish straight away, and we can now take a look at tonight's finishing results. It'll be himself, Charles Velasquez Jr. in that 64 car, grabbing the win over Bryson Ixtenball in P2, and Benefiel rounds out your podium in third. Hunter Truel with an overall very good night of racing action, going to finish this race in fourth. Kyle Amon not able to get the job done to punch his ticket into the playoffs. Still a fantastic run from the driver, the number 17, just not enough here when it mattered the most. Edward Scherer Jr. going to finish right behind him, P6. Jim Shoefield, Kirk Mills, and Eric Wineland finish in P7, P8, and P9 respectively. The 3 racers who went into this race above that playoff cutoff line, but had to try and get there at the end. I think they're all going to leave this race with a surefire golden ticket into the playoffs. Matthew Boston Wheeler Ewan will round out our top 10 tonight.
Last driver on the lead lap was Tim Phillips. In the end, Tanner Motti, in a must-win situation, unfortunately finished 1 lap down in the end in 12th, so playoff run comes to an end for 29. Kevin Soziak finishes 13th ahead of Michael Deitch, who brought out a couple of cautions with a solo spin tonight. Ken Ryan, the last driver, 1 lap down. Brandon Hastings was 2 down, although gained 5 laps on where he was at his worst. Alex Princeton and Connor Cunningham both finished 9 down ahead of Dustin Hall and Charles Eaton, who rounded out the top 20.
Looking through the rest of the drivers' class here at the end of this race, a lot of these racers running into difficulties. Noah Woods, Joey Beck, Brandon Mayfield, Raymond Root, Mason Lowry, Daniel Llewellyn, Trace McDowell. Unfortunate there for the number 20 of Trace McDowell. We saw that driver go with an interesting strategy call a little bit earlier on in this race. It's never really worked out. Finishes in 27th. Dave Hoytsman, 28th. Austin Evie in 29th. Steve Benjamin running after top 30 at the end of this race. 99 laps down. Just a handful more cars to go through here. Richard Jackson, Blake Kluot, Joseph McWhorter, Cody Warner, and Mark Padgett. Real kick in the shins for Padgett. I thought he had a fantastic shot to punch his ticket into the playoffs in this this race, but not going to work out for him here tonight. But looks like we have some drivers looking to have a chat with us at the end of this race and at the end of this broadcast, at the end of the regular season as well. And I think we'll get these interviews up rolling and ready to rock by having a chat with our P3 finisher at the end of this race, Adam Benefield, joining us now in the broadcast booth. Adam, welcome in. P3 for you at the end of this race here in Gateway. How was it out there, man? That looked nuts.
Yeah, Bob, it was pretty good. We had a great car. Um, yeah, me and Bryson kind of worked together there a little bit. I know we normally talk crap for one another, but pick at one another, but we worked together there, kind of covered both ends of the strategy to make sure that one of us won this race. So I went with the short and he went with the long, and uh, about busted it coming on the pit lane. That was the first green flag entrance of the week, so didn't really know when and where to let up at, and but we got lucky there and didn't kill the wall or speed, so that was good. And yeah, the car was good. Once we had that caution there, I knew it was a team game, and to have Team Conti 1, 2, 3 was my biggest concern, especially with all the jawing that was going on throughout the race, and a lot of people got a big mouth tonight, and hopefully we shut them up. So yeah, my goal was to just let Charles and Bryson go and try to race each other really hard and take care of my stuff, even though I was at a deficit with tires. And I thought I had opportunity to. I thought it was going to work out, but it didn't. So we'll take P3 and chalk it up as another Team Conti 1, 2, 3.
Hey, a pretty good result at the end of it all things considered for you, P3. And I gotta say as well, we were under the impression that that gutsy pit entry was fully intentional. So if you want to take credit for what I called a ballsy pit entry, feel free to, because that was absolutely fantastic. If not, probably a little bit terrifying from your perspective behind the wheel. But as we look ahead to the season, we got the playoffs up and rolling next time out at Bristol. So what are your thoughts as we head off into the final stretch of races to crown a champion?
I think this is going to get good. I mean, boy, to go back about the pit entry, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I was trying to push it hard. It's green flag pit stops. I was trying to push it hard, but that was almost a little too much. Yeah, it was just out of nowhere. But yeah, the playoffs, man, I'm excited for them to get started. It takes runs like we had tonight, and to make the final four and to be there at the end. There's a lot of tracks throughout this playoff that in past FLCC history, where when me and Bryson were going for the championship, that we are very evenly matched. And with us being on the same thing, it puts us even more on an even playing field. So uh, it'll be a lot of fun. We race each other very tight, very hard, and we trust one another. And we'll lean on one another, but we're going to give it everything we got, and hopefully put on a show for the fans, and for all the 71 haters out there, the people that wear the 71 shirts that hate me so much. So I hope I put on a good show for them, and looking forward to it.
I'll tell you what, when it comes to haters in the world of racing, I say this as me. I'm basically an alligator. I have a big mouth, no ears. I have the active listening skills of a cactus. But a lot of people like to run their mouth in the world of racing. I just happen to make a living out of doing it all. But Adam, awesome to have a chat with you at the end of this broadcast. P3, awesome drive for you here at Gateway. Well, I'll let you give a thanks or shout outs though before we let you go and look ahead to those playoffs.
Yeah, just want to thank everybody at Team Conti again for everything they do this week. We had to make some adjustments because it's been a day race and this was a night race, so a lot of that went to Bryson. He tweaked on it, and I kind of went my own direction for my driving style, a little bit off his, and yeah, thanks to those guys. Thanks to Bobby and Jason and Bryson again for the league doing this stuff on Friday nights. Y'all coming out and broadcasting it, and Yeah, like I said, the haters, I love them, man. I love poking the bear and pissing everybody off. That's kind of my thing. So I love it, you know. So we're looking forward to the playoffs. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, I'll tell you a little bit earlier on in this season where I came up with maybe one of my finest quotes that should definitely result in me potentially getting my ass kicked when I said you're as consistent as expired mayonnaise. May need to make some T-shirts with that, man. I think that was one of my finest comments. So that I mean, hey, if there's one thing to do, it's make money out of it. I think there's a comment from the movie Spaceballs. It's not the movie, it's the merchandising. So
Yeah.
but man, well done the P3, and looking forward to seeing you get those playoffs up and rolling at Bristol next time, Matt. Man, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on the podium.
Thank you.
And that right there was Adam Benefiel, our P3 finisher at the end of this race. And Ewan, I'll let you have a chat with our P2 runner at the end of this race, Mr. Bryson Ixenball.
Absolutely, Bryson, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congrats on finishing second tonight at Gateway. Looking back at those final 20 laps or so, it was a battle between yourself and Velasquez. Pretty much just the two of you. Is there anything, if you could go back, you'd do differently to try and get the win tonight?
Yeah, I think about 10 to go when we were side by side for a number of laps there. He kind of went wide into one of the laps, and I saw that as my opportunity to clear him, and I throttled up, and my right rear wasn't there to do it, so I lost all the ground, and he cleared me right back, and that was my chance, that was my opportunity. If I take it easier, if I don't get overexcited on that, I think I can clear him right there, and I probably go on to win. But hats off to Charles for that whole race, that end of stage. We had a great battle there. We kept it clean. I'm glad that we were able to both finish that, and that was a great battle that we had.
And must give you, even though you didn't win tonight, you must you still got 7th for the year, and you must have a lot of confidence going forward into the playoffs. Just how excited are you now to be there? Because I'm sure you will have been waiting for them a while as well. How excited are you for to finally be at the playoffs, starting next week at Bristol, and finally getting going? What must have been a long anticipation for you?
Yeah, it's been all building up to the playoffs here. I've got a lot of playoff points, luckily, to start it off with a bit of a buffer. It is a shame I'm losing my points lead that I've had all season, but that's the rules we have. That's the rules NASCAR has, and we're gonna go in there and set it off at Bristol, and hopefully we'll have the best 4 drivers go on to Phoenix.
Absolutely, we can only hope as neutrals ourselves. Bryson, congrats on second tonight here from Gateway, and thanks for coming to chat to us at the end of the day as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much, Brandon Hicksborough, the second place driver tonight from our race, and we'll go into the playoffs, of course, as favourite and points leader as well when we get to the round of 12 next week.
Yeah, that number 63 car has been top of the pole all throughout this season, but not top of the pole at the end of this race. That distinction going to Charles Velasquez Jr., getting his second win of the season. Charles, welcome into the broadcast booth, man. Your second victory of the season, and the first time since Phoenix all the way back in March. How was it to snap a winless streak like that? That must feel pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely feels good, especially the kind of race that Bryson and I had at the end. He was definitely taking care of me in 1 and 2. He could have easily moved me, but we kept it clean. I gave him every opportunity to rearrange my position in 1 and 2, and he kept it clean, and I tried to keep it clean. We were side by side, and that was a lot of fun. Probably one of the most fun races I've had so far this season, and it feels really good to get the win.
Yeah, that battle between you and him was just poetry in motion at the end of this race. I want to ask you about the nerves as we got a little bit farther along, especially with that lapped car involved in all that situation as well.
Yeah, all my nerves were already peaked when Bryce and I were racing, and then when I don't know who the lap car was when we caught him, and he kind of stayed in the bottom 3 and 4. Maybe a little motion took over, but thankfully I kind of maintained, and thankfully we weren't side by side. Bryson and I weren't side by side, so that made it a little easier. And then, like I said, Bryson took care of me in 1 and 2. He could have put us 3 wide, and with the lap cars to pick, and he kind of gave me a little shove to clear me going in there, and we kept racing from there.
It was a hard fought battle all the way through to the end of this race, but walking away with another victory and starting off the playoffs in just about the best way that you can. Gonna start it with a lot of momentum as we look ahead to that playoff opener at Bristol next time out. What are your thoughts heading to that track in 1 week's time?
Bristol is probably not one of my favorite tracks, but I'm sure I'll run pretty good there. The guys at Team Connie, we usually show up week in and week out. So I'm I have faith that we'll have a solid piece there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the tracks in the playoffs. I think that it'll be a really good race between quite a few of us that we've been up front battling all these types of tracks all year. So yeah, it feels really good to start off that run with some momentum and just hopefully to keep it building.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correctly as well, the first race of the season that we got the opportunity to cover was at Bristol in the spring. So it'll be nice to go back to that track that really all started at here this season here at Maconi Entertainment. And gonna be entering that with a whole lot of momentum, and certainly looking forward to seeing you out there next time out, Charles. But before we let you go and celebrate, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely give a shout out to the guys at Team Connie. You got Nick Ottinger and all the ambassadors there that put in a lot of work into these setups and spend a lot of time testing and helping not only each other but the customer base try to perform the best they can. So shout out to them. Shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast and letting us have some fun. And go back and rewatch a good battle like Bryson and I had. Yeah, so thank y'all. I guess I don't know if my brother was watching, so shout out to my little brother if he's there. I think he had a league race himself earlier, but give him a quick shout out. And yeah, it's good way to end the night.
Yeah, I think he was actually in the chat because I saw him send a congratulation message your way right as soon as you crossed the line. So nice to see that
Okay.
brotherly support at the end of this race. But well done, man, on grabbing the victory here at Gateway, and looking forward to seeing you start the playoffs next time at Bristol, man. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations once again on the win.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
And that right there was our race winner of Charles Velasquez Jr. joining us here in the broadcast booth. And Ewan, we usually ended off with the winner, but we have a rare opportunity to have a chat with the man, the myth, the Kirk Mills. Do you want to have a chat with him?
Oh, sure, why not? He's made it into the playoffs, so why not? Kirk, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Congrats on tonight, on making it through the playoffs. Or into the playoffs rather. How nervous were you at points tonight?
Oh, man, hold on. I don't know if my micro volume is set in place. It might be crazy loud. It might not. I don't know. How he's working on it. All right, there you go. Man, I got to tell you, we did it. We made it. Somehow I had so much fear in my heart. My heart rate hit 165, 170 when I saw Mark Padgett up there getting a pole. I was like, oh, no, Mark's going to steal it from him. And then I have to finish like within 11 spots of Jim Schofield. And I'm like, dang it, this sucks. And then next thing you know, he got involved in an accident. I felt horrible for him, but it helped us out a lot, and somehow we were able to get to the end. And whoo, man, I'm surprised you talked to me. I didn't expect that, but thank you guys. Man, that was awesome. I'm going to be a heck of a driver here at Bristol next week. You guys better tune in.
You're waiting there, so we thought we might just bring you in anyway. Why not? We'll just briefly touch on Bristol before we let you go and celebrate tonight, because I'm sure you'll be very pleased. But you're in the playoffs now. Is it sort of a free hit for you next week at Bristol and for the weeks to come as well? Now that you've made it, or how else are you going about the first race in the playoffs next week?
The best shot I got all this playoff is going to be Bristol. Bristol's my home track. I finished second here in the spring. I got speed. I made a mistake in the spring to where I didn't win the race. Hoytsma ended up stealing it from me. But this week, I've been working with our good team over here at Precision Speed Solutions. We've been working on this setup for a while, and we got ourselves a hot rod. We're going to get that car up to the front. We're going to boogie it on down to turn 1, 2, 3, 4, about 300 times, and we're going to try and win the dang thing. I tell you what, Mr. O'Leary, it is going to be one of my favorite races of the year. But after that, if I don't win it, we're done. Best of luck. We're just going to try to survive and get lucky. I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, it's good to hear from you too, Ron. How do you do it? And then Mr. O'Leary, Howie Burrows here in the booth. Love to see you guys.
Thanks for coming to chat to us, Kirk, and popping in. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Watch you closely at Bristol. It's playoffs; that anything can happen. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, thanks for chatting to us, Kirk, and congrats on making the playoffs tonight.
Boogity boogity.
That's a way of saying bye. I guess so. He just sounds like his home track's Bristol, doesn't he?
Yeah, Kirk's a character. I love him. He's absolutely fantastic. Him and I did some of the FLCC stuff a little bit earlier on this year. Then I went off to announce. Actually, I sing the Canadian national anthem at moose races north of the border. So that's what I do on my Saturday nights now. But Ewan, that was an absolutely incredible race here at Gateway. What a way to bring the regular season off to a conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I'm not sure if I said it on the broadcast or just before we went live, but not my favourite circuit in the world, I must admit, Gateway. But it did provide a good race tonight, especially that race for the finish at the very end there, the race for the win. A little bit surprised in what Bryson Hicksborough said, actually, in the way that, I do remember the moment he was talking about there, tried to clear the driver on the outside and just couldn't quite do it off of turn 2. I felt he had a good chance making it 3 wide with that lap car about 5 laps later. But anyway, couldn't quite get it done. But he's won enough this season. He's won 7 times already. And so he'll be one to really reckon with in the playoffs. And all the other drivers have got to try and catch him now because it's anything can happen. And looking forward to getting it underway next week.
Yeah, the playoffs are now officially upon us. The sun has set here at Gateway. The sun has set on what has been a fantastic regular season here in the FLC Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. Bryson Ixenbalga looked to try and grab win number 8 at the track that he grabbed win number 4 at a little bit earlier on this year. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment, we hope you have enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Next week at Bristol, going to be rather strange. I'm not going to be here, but I'm sure that race is going to be absolutely incredible, just as it was in the spring. But as for this broadcast here tonight for the regular season finale for the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at Gateway, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Ewan O'Leary, joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics inside of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.